Okay, let's try it again and see if it's actually working this time. Let me know if you can hear me. Yeah, weird, the stream settings changed. I've kept it the same for every single stream I've done. But good, now we're rolling. Okay, perfect. Whew, thank God we sorted that out quickly. Alright, thank you for your patience. Now we can get going with this 200k subscriber special. So let me quickly explain again what's going to happen in case anybody hasn't seen like the trailer and the general build up to this live stream. Basically what I have for you guys is a video that I recorded a few weeks ago, a challenge that I tried to set for myself to try and do like a boss rush / gauntlet thing in which I fight all of the Monster Arena original creations plus Nemesis back to back, then do all of the Dark Aeons back to back, and then do penance. All of it in like a single sitting, and the goal is to basically beat all of them without taking any breaks in between to like use save spheres to heal up after any fights. No like using the triangle menu to go into equipment to change up like different setups of different bosses. No changing like overdrive modes or anything like that. That's generally like the main kind of setup. And then from there, it's going to be basically making sure that nobody dies in the run. So that's the general idea. You guys are saying it's a bit low. Let me try and turn it up a little bit. Let's double check that. Basically, I had to change my settings from the usual live streams that I've been doing more recently. So I need to have a look at this. Because the video playback, it's that my mic is low, so I want to just fix this quickly. We're going to be here for a few hours anyway, so I'd rather get this right now, and then we can... Okay, let's give this a go. Is this better? That might be a little too high. Maybe this is a little better. Okay. I'll lower the game volume as well, just in case if it's still a little too, if the game audio is still a bit too high, then we can kind of work with this. Okay, there we go. Nice. It's been so busy recently. I've been working on like Elden Ring DLC. We had the Auron Elden Ring premiere. It's just been absolutely insane the last like week or so. So I haven't been able to prepare for this as well as I normally would have, but I think we got it going. Literally woke up this morning, was feeling good, and then I started to get like crazy allergy sneezing throughout the day. And I've been trying my best to take allergy medication and just kind of keep things under control. So if I go silent for a little bit now and then and like mute the mic, it's because I'm just having a sneezing fit in the background. So I apologize for that. But yeah, now we are truly ready to get going. So I'm going to basically start playing back this video so that we can actually get started here, and then it'll be a bit self-explanatory, and I'll talk things through as we move along. So I'm going to mute this, put this on, and then go. Bless you in advance. Thank you, James. Okay. So did I? Yeah. Okay. So I'm starting to head towards the Monster Arena now to begin this particular challenge. This was kind of, I forgot to turn no encounters on here.
Live and let live.
So that should not have happened. But yeah, it's nice to see so many familiar names in the chat. Thank you all for joining me for this celebration. I really do appreciate it. Including legends like Sausage, of course. But yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to start things off in the Monster Arena. I wanted to basically do it this way because I thought it might be more interesting to throw the original creations in. Mostly because Shinryu is there as well, and I thought that could make things very interesting. No, there's no Dark Anima, no Sphere Grid stuff today. We did that last year, and that was like a lot of fun for the 15-year anniversary. It was a super fun stream, but I decided to do something a little bit different this time. Yeah, clearly, very clearly, this file is hacked. This was taken again from my attack-only save. I tend to use that as a baseline to do this kind of stuff. And so I'll quickly show you guys some of the stats. These stats here that you can see, they're all kind of attainable stats. You can get all of these via the Sphere Grid. and I decided to opt for basically like an absolute maximum HP kind of strategy. It's rare that I fight like the normal kind of Dark Aeons and Penance with like max HP. You guys have seen like in the 100% playthrough and stuff, I've always done it with just the usual quad 9 HP, and that's more than enough to get the job done. But for this particular challenge, I wanted to try and go all out and give myself as much HP as possible. So this is the general setup that you're seeing in the background. David Smith, thank you so much, appreciate that. So yeah, we do have the celestial weapons here, and I will show the armor that I went for, because of course in the triangle menu at least we can't, like in this particular menu outside of battle, we can't change up any armors. So this is what I went for. This I felt was kind of like it covers as many bases as I can kind of cover here. Also regen starts to become really effective when you get up to this level of HP, depending on what you're facing. Ribbon felt like a must because we're going to be dealing with some stuff that's going to have like nasty status effects like Mega Graviton and that kind of thing, and I felt like that's probably not going to be that great. So I decided to stick with Ribbon. Auto Haste is pretty self-explanatory, and Break HP Limit, that's also on there because I want to benefit from the auto regen and potentially survive some hits that normally would require auto life or a different setup. So we'll see how that goes. Val, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. And Syke managed to nap himself another membership. He's continuing his streak of trying to get to Bugenhagen. Now this first fight is already a little bit interesting because Earth Eater has like a counter, like an attack called Megaton Punch, which has a death status attached to it. And I didn't prep any death proof, so this is one thing that I don't really have here. And so already from the get-go with this particular challenge, this was actually quite dangerous. Because, as I say, if anybody dies during this, I'm not allowed to revive them using Phoenix Downs. No auto Phoenixes, no full life, and no auto life. The way to avoid that was to do what I just did there, and do enough damage to knock Earth Eater on its back. And if you manage to do that, then you're not going to see Megaton Punch in this fight. So I had to give up an overdrive, but that saved me from any potential deaths against this guy. So already, like from the first fight, there was a little something to consider. For this fight. Do you still get to use 3 characters if someone dies? Yeah, you can, but you'd have to kind of rotate them out basically, and you won't be able to use them again. So that's the general idea. But hey, I mean, if no one dies, then you don't have to do anything, right? So we'll just have to see. But yeah, welcome to everybody that's been trickling in for the stream. Do appreciate it. The commentary itself is live, so I'm just kind of live watching the chat, watching back the video, but the video itself is pre-recorded because I didn't know, again, this was a completely random challenge I made up for myself. I had no idea if I could pull it off and how it was going to work, and I didn't really have time to practice the run over and over, ready for a stream, and so I thought, let me just get it recorded, see if I could do it, and then just have it as kind of a background footage so I can spend more time like looking at the chat, engaging with you guys instead of really focusing on the challenge. Benji, thank you for the donation, appreciate that. Yeah, permanent sensor definitely helps too. So yeah, for some of the stuff, obviously good mention there from Wind Waker saying how are you going to beat Dark Ifrit with no save spheres. What I did, obviously for some of these Dark Aeons you kind of have to use a save sphere to actually kind of teleport to the area you need to go to. And for that one, basically I've got like a Final Fantasy editor program where I can reset everybody's HP and MP to the same level it was at before. Because obviously the reason I'm saying no save spheres is because you can just like heal in between battles for free. And so let's say you end one battle with really low HP, then you can just instantly heal and not worry about it for the next one. But the challenge comes from obviously not being able to do that. And so that's why what I am going to do, I'm going to use the save sphere to get to, let's say, Beacon L, but then I'm going to bring everyone's HP back down to what it was from the previous fight. So that's how we're going to do it. Easier than watching chat while lightning dodging. Yes, that was tough. It kind of made me even more surprised that I ever did it the first time when I was doing the P-Birdman mod. Like that was a bit kind of clutch. It was good concentration for me back there. I just couldn't pull it off the second time. I think if I gave myself like another few attempts and I really knuckled down to it, I could have done it, but then like half of the stream or maybe more of that day's stream would have been just lightning dodging, and I didn't want to put you guys through that. It was fun for like the first one, like where like people were, you know, spamming emojis, keeping the VOD viewers entertained, that kind of thing. I liked that whole vibe. But then after I failed, I was kind of like, it's going to be a bit tough to keep people busy for like the next potentially hour. So I was like, you know what, screw it. Let's move on from this. But yeah, Elden Ring DLC released yesterday. I was up until midnight on Wednesday night. It released basically at midnight on the 21st. So as soon as the clock struck midnight, that's when I could start playing it. And so, yeah, I have been getting into the Elden Ring DLC for sure. So no spoilers about the DLC, please. That would be great. I've only played about 4 or 5 hours, and I'm taking the weekend off to do things like this stream and a couple other things that I had planned from before. So I haven't made a huge amount of progress yet, but I am very much looking forward to playing more of the DLC. It looks like more of the same great stuff that I've been enjoying in the main game. Super Dave, thank you very much, and Carifian appreciates it. Thank you so much as well, and thank you for all of your contributions to the community over the years. For an update about the Carifian mod, it's still going to happen. Just it's basically when I get time. At this stage, I was kind of thinking about it the other day. With Final Fantasy Rebirth being as long as it was, I had hoped to finish the story by now. We're on like 120 episodes or something. Before ever playing it, when I was kind of trying to map out my schedule, I was thinking surely by about 100 episodes, 110 episodes, I should be done with the story. Definitely didn't turn out like that. And so with Rebirth taking so long, like right now, we've got Rebirth on the go, we've got Sekiro on the go, we got Elden Ring DLC on the go, we got the Final Fantasy X randomizer live streams on the go, plus the VODs, and we have Final Fantasy IX attack only at the same time. So this is the busiest I've ever been in terms of uploads. And so obviously throwing in like one more thing was a bit much. So for now, it's kind of it's on the kind of the waiting list, but I'm going to get to it very soon, hopefully. Frank, thank you for the donation. The Platinum playthrough is the best game playlist on YouTube. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Deserves 1 million subs. Yeah, it's funny. I think, how long was it? It took me 10 years to go from 0 to 100k, and then it took 6 years to go from 100 to 200. So that's the kind of trajectory that we're on. So based on that, it would be lovely if like we kind of kept up that trajectory, but I think the kind of 100 to 200 is probably going to be similar to what happens over the next, you know, few years if I manage to kind of stick around and keep going. It's very hard. Like for me, it's always been very kind of consistent. You know, I'm a consistent uploader. That's kind of how I run my channel, and as a result, I think the growth is also consistent. It's slow, but it's consistent. And so I think it's not, I can't see it kind of ramping up anytime soon to like get anywhere near the kind of 1 million type number. But I think as long as we keep going, like I don't have like goals of getting there or anything like that. I just want to just keep doing this kind of as long as I can, just in general, full time, keep it sustainable, keep it fun, and just keep going as long as we can. Was I talking about the Final Fantasy 16 DLC? No, I was talking about the Elden Ring DLC. Final Fantasy 16 DLC will be after like all of the Rebirth content is complete. So we'll look into that. Uploads aside, how many things are you recording right now? At the moment, I think everything I'm recording is being uploaded. So there isn't anything. As I said, I've literally listed out like 5 ongoing projects. So yeah, there isn't anything that's kind of been recorded and sitting on the side right now. So it's all go right now. Is the HP showing up a mod? Yes, it is. It's a nice. I think it's a nice quality of life mod for like challenge stuff. It's so much easier than tracking it manually. Honestly, when you've played the game as long as I have, you know how much HP enemies have anyway. And so for me, just knowing how much it has left is just a nice kind of benefit. Would you say your channel is healthy? I couldn't help but notice your average amount of views per video is rather low. Yeah, that's what I mean. There's different ways to run a channel on YouTube. There's the kind of low quantity of uploads but high views per upload kind of way. And then there's the kind of day-to-day uploaders like me, and I'm the latter. I throw in kind of videos that I think will do bigger numbers now and then, and so you've seen, like, for example, the challenge content in recent years. It started to really like give me some extra views. In the past, I've made some lore videos that have done well, and so for me at least, like, I sprinkle in some things that have a bit more kind of high view potential. That always helps, of course, but for me it's more a case of like I just try to consistently upload every day, and the views, I have such a huge archive of videos from before, and I try to make content that people still potentially watch even like 3 years later, 5 years later. And so when you have like 4,600 videos, if each of them even get 1 view, then it starts to kind of add up to be a collective. But of course, we also have things like memberships, we have things like Patreon, and that's why I keep always saying that those things are so important for channels like mine, where we don't get like the giant numbers. We kind of need to rely on like that core community. Of the 200k, let's say that's 5,000 to 10,000 of them that are much more likely to be regularly checking in and watching content. And so that kind of core audience, if they're kind of supporting like the daily uploads, and there's people on memberships and Patreon and that kind of thing, that basically keeps it sustainable and keeps it going. So that's generally the way that I tend to do it. But every channel has a different model for kind of staying alive and prospering. Thank you, Jerome. Besides Final Fantasy X, which Final Fantasy first playthrough have you enjoyed the most? I think of the first playthroughs that I actually shared on the channel as a true first playthrough, probably Final Fantasy VIII. I say that because I'd played technically Final Fantasy VII before I'd put it on the channel, and so it wasn't truly a first ever playthrough. I did it for like the movie version of it I did like years ago, and so I played it with like certain mods and cheats and that kind of thing to get the movie version of it. And so I would have said 7, but I think 8 and 6 are probably the favorites, I would say. 6 probably, 6 and 8 are very close, but I think ultimately maybe I push it on to 6. I still think, overall I think 6 is the game that I like more. So I think I will say 6. Do you get any sleep? Yeah, I do. I didn't get much sleep when the Elden Ring DLC came out. That was a bad night of sleep. I got like 5 hours in that night. But in general, I sleep like between 7 and 8 hours, something like that. I do get my sleep. I just try to work as efficient as I can. And I try not to kind of take up all of my time with work. So that comes with experience. I've been doing this for so long now. I know how to manage my time and how to schedule my content in general. And so it definitely helps a lot. Buck's a millionaire, should have been a billionaire. I wish I was a millionaire. I have no aspirations of being a billionaire, but I guess a millionaire would be kind of cool. But no, I'm happy with things as they are. Yeah, sorry Psych about that. I knew Psych wasn't going to be too happy about me putting 6 slightly above 8. EA Burns, thank you for the gifted memberships, appreciate that. And Eric Asensio, thank you for the donation. Watching your Final Fantasy 16 playthrough, and thanks for not crapping all over it. I had to stop watching in case I play it someday. Fair play. Yeah, I mean 16, I definitely had a good time with it. It was very recently the 1-year anniversary of Final Fantasy 16, and I was very like, it was another one of those moments where I was like, crap, it's been like a year already. Like, it just went by so fast. But yeah, it's been over a year. So I'm looking at the chat a lot. Obviously, I'm trying my best. Like, my priority is you guys and chatting up with you guys and celebrating together. But if there's anything you see in the video where you're like, wait a minute, what did you do there? Or like, you know, what's going on? Then definitely pull me up on it, and I'll try to either rewind the video or try to explain what I did for a certain thing. Daniel Scott, thank you very much. Wonder, great name. Big love for the channel. Final Fantasy was a huge part of my brother's upbringing. It's great to see videos exploring different aspects I hadn't experienced with the games. That's cool. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm always a little bit envious of people that get to enjoy games like Final Fantasy with like their siblings and stuff. I'm an older sibling. I have one younger sister, and like I just could not get them into Final Fantasy. Obviously, when they were growing up, they saw me play a lot of Final Fantasy, but some people, if you're not into it, you're not into it. So I can never sort of get her interested in gaming in general and Final Fantasy especially. So whenever I hear these stories of people playing it with like, you know, with their siblings or with their parents or with like an uncle, I've even heard grandparents. I guess in this day and age, there's people who have grandparents who play Final Fantasy. So yeah, I'm always a little bit envious when I hear those kind of things. Carifian, of course, focusing on the video too. He's a hardcore Final Fantasy X head, so he's actually paying attention here and watching the strategies and stuff. Hey Alicia, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Just finished watching your Final Fantasy IX playthrough, so I was fully expecting that to be the answer. Yeah, 9 is up there too. For me, my golden era is firmly Final Fantasy 6 to 10. They're basically my top 5 Final Fantasies. So yeah, Final Fantasy IX is very much up there too. Have you considered playing the new game Minus Mode in Final Fantasy XII? I definitely want to do something for Final Fantasy XII eventually, but it's such a big game. Especially if you want to do a bit more of the optional content and challengey stuff. So I'd love to find something a bit more condensed for Final Fantasy XII, but yeah, I'd like to hopefully eventually do it. Why did you switch your party? Sometimes I switch Lulu in. She has a weapon that's better for magic. Her celestial weapon's got magic booster on it. And so for that one, you can do like extra damage basically. So if you give her like something like 3 stars, or she doesn't even really need it because she's got 1 MP cost too. But she basically does really nice magic damage. So that's why she's in there. She gets swapped in. I do love how positive about Final Fantasy you are. There's so much negativity in the fandom, it's so tiring. I think the sentiment's generally switching. It depends kind of which corners of the internet you hang out in, I guess. There's just so much crap that I just don't engage in, or I never even see. Like, you know, I set up my kind of social media experience, I guess, to try and just stay away from that side of things. I try to be as positive as I can, because then when I am critical, I hope that it has a little bit more balance and context. And so I try to generally give like a nice honest opinion about things. So I always, like, whenever I, for example, review games at the end of a playthrough, sometimes I literally talk about what I didn't like more than what I liked. So I always try to give a balanced opinion, but in general I try my best to obviously, you know, not just complain about things constantly. So yeah, I do think you kind of have to try and hang out in the right places when it comes to that stuff. I'd probably include Final Fantasy V in it too. Final Fantasy V and 12 kind of fall just outside it for me. I think it absolutely like the peak, like the apex golden age. I don't want to expand it too far out. Like Final Fantasy V I am genuinely a fan of, but I wouldn't put it just like in the same tier as 6 to 10. Auron's celestial weapon makes him do criticals all the time if he's in low life. No, that's not how it works. It basically, he does more damage the lower his health is, but they're not technically criticals. He basically has like a reverse scaling, so the lower HP he has, the more damage he will do. So they're not critical hits, but they're just more damage, and that's why he's a particularly useful character to have around for that stuff. Has there ever been an explanation of what the snaky guy stuck in the battle arena is? Not that I've seen. If anyone ever finds one, I'd like to hear it. The Final Fantasy VIII Attack Only series with Chef's Kiss. Thank you for the way. Appreciate that. Final Fantasy VIII Attack Only, I think of the Attack Only is probably my favorite series. It was a ton of fun. That was a whole like rabbit hole I just did not realize that I'd be going down when I started that one. And that's why I love doing these types of challenges that haven't really been done before, or that I haven't seen been done before. It's that kind of heading into the unknown. That's what I love, and so yeah, it was one of my favorites too. Wonder if Toby is watching, and do you keep in touch? Yeah, we do. He messages me from time to time, and we do have a chat. He's still like doing awesome things with video games, and I always plug his channel when I have the chance. So definitely go check him out. Damn it, what was it? I forgot the exact name of the channel, but he might pop into chat. When he does, I'll definitely share it again. But I don't want to kind of misname the channel, so I just want to I want to wait until like the next time he appears. Do you ever use Kimari for post-game content? For a normal run, I would probably say no, not really. It's unfortunate, but to be fair, I generally tend to not use Lulu much either. So it's not purely Kimari's fault, but... It's Shadow of the Colossus, that's where the name comes from. Fair play. Shadow of the Colossus is an incredible game. Kind of feels forgotten. It was more fresh in my mind when I played the kind of remake thing they made for it. It became one of my absolute favorites. Just an incredible game. It really felt like one of those kind of work of art video games. Really, really loved it. Great, great game. Definitely recommend it. Harrowbed96, thanks for joining us. I will take a second to mention Shinryu, because Shinryu is one of the most dangerous encounters in this challenge. And so here, obviously, we are trying to blitz out Shinryu as quickly as possible, because if Shinryu gets an attack, like let's say you're unlucky and you get ambushed by Shinryu, then it can potentially do an eraser on you, and one of your characters will be gone permanently. And so you've got to be very careful. So you just need to get rid of Shinryu's hefty HP as quickly as possible, the 2 million HP that Shinryu has. But thankfully, again, if you plan it out a little bit, make sure you have an overdrive at the ready. You should have enough in the tank to get Shinryu out before it gets a turn. So yeah, just a quick note on what's going on with Shinryu there. Print the Paint, thank you for joining us today. Here's the 300k. Hopefully, yes, I'll see you in hopefully about 6 years for 300k. I liked doing only hunts in Final Fantasy 12. Yeah, I think that might be one way, for example, to do a shorter series. Maybe something purely via Infinito. Not via Infinito. Trial mode or whatever that was. I think it's called trial mode. So something like trial mode, only hunts, that kind of thing. Might be good. Brunette, welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Omega, welcome to the stream. Lots of names here today. Thank you all for coming out to this. Isn't it Gaming Through New Worlds? Gaming Through New Eyes is the name of the documentary we made together, but Toby's channel's name, I think it's the Audio Game Club. Don't quote me on it, but I think it's something like that. And yeah, this is true. We do have a D&D campaign ongoing in which our very own Psyche is the Dungeon Master. And when creating characters, my character in D&D is literally called Wonder, and the full name of the character is Wandering Flame. They're like a nomadic character that I created for the D&D campaign. And yes, it was inspired by the Wandering Flame track in Final Fantasy X. So I don't think anyone's surprised that my character's a Final Fantasy X reference, but yeah. But yeah, on that note, see you later, Psyche. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Is Shinryu possible in No Sphere Challenge? Technically, yes. Practically, I would say no. It's one of those challenges, like, the odds are so astronomical that I don't think I would ever believe it. If I saw anybody do it, I'd be like, no, this is some kind of hacks, some kind of cheating, something's going on here. Like, the numbers just are absurd to try and do like a true No Sphere Shinryu run. I just don't see it. And I don't trust anyone's word enough to just go on off their word, and when they say, yeah, I just did it and it was all legit, it's just too much. Hey, Real Deal, welcome to the stream, good to see you, man. Hey, J85 Norway, good to see you as well. Thanks for joining us. It's nice to see some of the mod squad as well. Yasol, of course, also in the house. Thank you, Penners, appreciate that. And Red Robotics. He's also beyond the scope of RNG manipulation in this game so far. Ah, that's interesting. Fair enough. Have you ever considered a ad hoc fixed job system run for Final Fantasy X, like the post-game limiting skills, use all 7 characters against end bosses? Not specifically, no, but as I've always said, like the whole challenge thing is just... Sorry, my microphone just slipped there. When it comes to challenges, it's kind of like it's infinite. Basically, you can never run out of challenge material. So yeah, maybe one day. Who knows? The classic missed attack reels. Yeah. To do this, I think your attack reels has to be on point. If you're not very consistent with your attack reels, I think you might struggle. Amy Maria, welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Imagine playing this game blindfolded. Yeah, that's kind of basically what Toby did. I guess you can. I mean, it's just a memory test, I guess, playing this game blindfolded. Thankfully, it doesn't really require that type of skill, I guess, as long as you remember every single menu and you can complete that memory test, then yeah, you can probably do it. You just have to turn it into an attack-only run, basically, like figure out the combinations needed to level a character to just take out everything as quickly as possible and then just romp your way through it with attack only. Rainbow Muffins, thank you so much. Hey Nick, what older Final Fantasy do you believe deserves a remake similar to Final Fantasy 7? I think I'm with you. 6. I've always said 6 and 8. Like, if we're just putting aside anything about business or like how feasible it is, whether it would sell, how realistic it is to make it, whatever. Like, I think 8 first. I think 8 is still my like top priority because I feel like that game was so ahead of its time in terms of like the visual kind of ambition, like the art style and that kind of thing. I just think it will look absolutely awesome. So I think 8 first, and then 6 for remakes. 4 technically has the kind of the 3DS remake thing. So I guess 4. It's not obviously it's not like a real remake by today's standards, but I think gets a pass for that. I'm still salty that they remade 3 and 4 in 3D. But then they stopped there. I just really wish they had a FF5 and FF6 as well, at least, to bridge the gap. I think that would have been really nice. I'm still a bit bummed out that they never continued that. I think that's a bit of a missed opportunity. Maggie Brinkley, thanks so much. Appreciate it. So, Penance, Nemesis, and Shinryu are the only bosses left in those figures, right? Yeah, I think so. I think Nemesis is actually like weirdly doable. Like, if you were to beat Shinryu in the first place, then I think Nemesis is okay with the Mega Sisters and stuff. But yeah, I think those 3 are still the ones that's left. There's still so many rumors on 9. Yeah, I'm on a personal level, I'm completely convinced that a 9 remaster / remake thing is happening. I think it will be announced in the next 12 months. That's my own personal guess. They just need something to bridge the gap between what we got this year versus like Final Fantasy 17 or the final part of the 7 trilogy. They can't go like 3 or 4 years with basically absolutely nothing. And so I think they must have been cooking up something. They can't make us wait that long for any legit Final Fantasy content. So I think maybe there's a lot of talk of the Tactics remaster as well, so maybe Tactics would be thrown in. But I definitely think something's going to happen with Final Fantasy IX. But exactly what it is, I'm not sure. Getting curious to see if you end up avoiding Armageddon. Yeah, basically that's kind of why you need to have your attack reels on point. If you're not hitting enough of them, then you might not do the 10 million damage in time before Armageddon happens. Joe Hugh 85, been following me for years, first time being able to catch one of your lives. That's cool, thanks for joining us. Hopefully the Dragon Quest 3, 1 and 2 HD 2D remake does well and they'll extend that to Final Fantasy. I agree. I think I'm looking to potentially jump into Dragon Quest 3. I've heard like that's a good, even though it's Dragon Quest 3 and not 1 or 2, I've heard that's a good starting point for newcomers to the franchise. And the release date for the HD 2D remake of Dragon Quest 3 is like November the 14th. And that looks like it might be a really nice kind of position for me. And so there's a lot of crossover, I think, in like fan bases. So I think it might be a nice one for me to jump into at launch. So it will have the benefit of a little bit of extra hype because it's going to be a fresh launch. And it's something fairly adjacent to what I already do. And I've always been curious about the Dragon Quest franchise. So ordinarily, I probably wouldn't have put it above the likes of Chrono Trigger. But the timing of that particular release kind of shifts the priority for me. And so there's definitely a chance you might be seeing Dragon Quest III HD 2D in November if things go well. So that's what I'm generally planning to do. Wasn't there a big void after 15? I think it was 15 was like 2016 December. So it was about a 4-year void, and I don't think that was the best thing. To be fair, they technically released the Zodiac Age in 2017, which did okay, I guess, and they added a few new things. So at the very least, I think they need to re-release like, some of the games. But I would say Zodiac Age wasn't that legit a release. Like it's still close enough to the original. It was barely, I would say, like a proper remaster, I think. So. But I think like at this stage, big voids is probably not great for the Final Fantasy franchise. I think they need a bit more momentum and consistency. So a couple of nice little releases like Final Fantasy IX, a bit more of a kind of a medium tier remake, not like the full thing like 7 Rebirth or anything like that. I think that could be a nice thing to kind of fill the gap for like 2026, something like that. Yeah, that was a mistake. Caribbean. Clasko, welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Any thoughts on what direction they might go with Final Fantasy 17 and things you'd like to see? I think at this stage, if you look at both 16 and Rebirth, I think they do kind of different things well. And if I was making the next Final Fantasy game, if I was in charge of 17, I'd probably look at both of those games and try and see like what was the best thing from both, because I think there's things that 16 did better than Rebirth, and there's things that Rebirth did better than 16. And I'd be looking to see like which of those things can I fuse those together to make a hybrid of the two and create like the next. Because I still like for 17, I don't think they're going back to more like turn-based style. I think they're going to reserve those for like remakes of the OG games and HD 2D remakes, whatever they're doing. I think that's what they'll probably keep that to. So I think 17 will retain more of an action-based style, but I think they can definitely take some cues from Rebirth and 16. So yeah, I think that the side questing is still not quite there. I still think they need to go up a level with their side questing. I think for Rebirth it was good. They put so much in there that I'm still amazed it was as good as it was, considering the insane amount of stuff they had. But I think like truly great side quests, I don't think there were that many in terms of like the story and that kind of thing for Rebirth. So I still think there's another level to go there. So side quests would definitely be something I'd still be looking to improve potentially a little bit. That stuff. Black Helium, thank you so much. Have you ever thought of playing Final Fantasy 14? Yes, I have. It's still something that's potentially on the cards. I've always said it. I don't like. I basically don't play anything that's like MMO style. But I've always been told that 14's like increasingly single player friendly. Basically, you can play it more and more like a single player. I am aware of that, and so I'm looking to it more and more. But for now, at least, it's not like any immediate future kind of thing. But I'm definitely looking to potentially play it in the future. It would be cool. I think my ideal way to play it would be like, let's say we have like someone like Wordsmith from the mod crew, Indubitable Wordsmith. He's a big 14 player. Like he's big into 14. He's really like a high level player there. It'd be nice to have like a couple of personal friends kind of guide me through and we play together kind of thing. I think I'd enjoy that instead of making it a pure single player feel. But yeah, if I could get something like that going and record a series like that where I play with like a couple of friends. Eric also plays from the mod crew, so I think that'd be kind of nice. But it's something that'd be very hard for me to organize because of like time zones and availability and that kind of thing. And so yeah, we'll see. But for now, no plans to do 14 in the immediate future. they should stick to 7 remake / rebirth gameplay. I'm 100% on that train. I still think that's the blueprint. That's what they should stick to. They can, of course, make tweaks, make changes, give it a little bit of a different feel. But in the same way that, like, when you play Final Fantasy, like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 8, 9, 10, like most of those, like, yes, they all have their own kind of take on it, but they have the same kind of skeletal style. I feel like I think the 7 remake style of gameplay should be the blueprint. They should build around that, personally. That's my take on that. Big voids is why I started playing other games instead of Final Fantasy. That's kind of a good point, I guess. Yeah. You gotta keep people interested, because I think the games themselves, the games aren't made in a way, or like, I don't want to say they're not good enough, but I just don't think they're made in a way where people would just continue to play them for years and years afterwards. And I think that's part of the problem. Because like I think about games like, for example, I don't know, obviously GTA is one of the most famous examples, and how like it's been over 10 years since the last GTA game, but people are still playing GTA, so that's kind of the reason why they can do that. But with, say, 16, I feel like people play 16, they have a great time, I had a good time with it, and then like that's kind of it. I don't see people still going back to 16 after like 2-3 years, and you know, it's not going to have the same type of legacy as, say, I think 7 does, 10 does. Those kind of games, they're still relevant today, and they're still being played today. People are doing challenge runs, people are talking about it. I don't feel like games like 16 are really doing that, and so I feel like if they're not, then you can't really leave like big voids between your releases. You have to keep people invested in the franchise, I think, and so yeah, I think that's generally a good point. If it's MMORPG, can the Burke Army take over? Yeah, I don't know how it works with that stuff. Let's say I was announcing that I was playing 14. Like, can people from the community, basically I just announce I'm going live on 14, and then people from the community can just come and play, like we just play together and they help me out and stuff. I don't really know how that works, but if I ever do it, we'll have a look at that. But yeah, at the moment, on the video, to refer back to the actual kind of challenge that's being shown here, where I can, I'm just trying to sprint to the next battle so that I'm not using the save spheres, just to keep things as kind of pure and legit as possible. So this is why I'm literally sprinting all the way back to Dark Valor 4. So I'm going to kind of skip ahead here actually a little bit, so the video is going to skip. So this is my way of keeping it as legit as possible. Yeah, so this will save a little bit of time as well. It's a long old video. So yeah, Dark Valor 4 next. Let's see how the Dark Aeons go. Let's see. Any chance you might get into some Kingdom Hearts games in the channel? Yes. Kingdom Hearts 1 I'd definitely like to do. It's one of those games that's kind of not going anywhere, and so whenever I choose to do it, I don't think it's going to get like a remake anytime soon or anything like that. So in the next, say, year or so, 1 or 2 years, especially once like Final Fantasy 1 to 16 is complete on the channel, as I've always said, it opens up the door for new content. So yeah, Kingdom Hearts 1 will definitely get a run. I'll give it a fair shake, and if I'm not into Kingdom Hearts, then I just won't continue. I won't do like 2 and 3, but I'll definitely give Kingdom Hearts a try. Didn't realize X Potion wouldn't break the limit. Yeah, it doesn't, unfortunately. How much does Magic heal for? I think Curaga maxes out like 13,000 or so. They should bring back turn-based with today's graphics, would be sick. That's why I'm kind of curious about that Expedition 33, I think it was called. That has a much more modern, realistic look, and it's a bit more of a turn-based combat. Be curious to see how that does. Turn-based greater than action-based for Final Fantasy games in MMO. I agree. And again, I think that's part of why games have such a great legacy. It's weird, like I keep thinking to myself, like as a channel that does a lot of Final Fantasy challenge material, I keep thinking like, is there a challenge I want to do for like remake or rebirth or 16? I'm always just like, not really. I'm not that interested in it. But like Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 10, like I'm always happy to come up with new challenge ideas and do stuff for them. there's just something about the turn-based systems, the ATB systems, that just work so well for that kind of stuff, and that really does help to keep the community alive, I think. When are you going to play Chrono Trigger? Chrono Trigger was one of the first ones I was looking to do after Final Fantasy I, but I think that's probably been superseded by Dragon Quest III HD 2D remake thing. And so I think that's the one I'll do first. Chrono Trigger, I'd probably like to do it in 2025. It would be nice to get to that one finally. So I think it's near the top of JRPGs I want to tackle after the mainline Final Fantasy adventures complete. 16 has the best Sid. I agree with that. No argument from me. Just found you running through half the pilgrimage. Yeah. Speed up plus no encounters for the win. Berg Army can join you on dungeons and raise up to 8 players. Alliance raids are the big boys with 24 players. I think I could probably find 24 players from the community. Well, 23. We could do that. Kingdom Hearts unsubscribing. I'm sure you'll survive. There's so much content on at the moment that, like, I'm sure most people can't keep up right now. If you're managing to watch everything, that's kind of insane. But in general, I try to give as much variety as possible so that if there's 3 or 4 series ongoing, people might only be interested in one. But at least it gives them something to watch. When is Final Fantasy X Remake coming? Ugh. I would say the 2030s. I don't think it's happening in the next 6 years. That's my guess. It will happen, but no. Try and Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is too big. It's just too big a game. I want to play that again potentially with some friends, do like a co-op run of it. That's what I'd be potentially looking to do, like off the channel. So Baldur's Gate 3, I don't see that coming to the channel. Just too much to do. Yusul, see you later. Thanks for hanging out. Take care. Why remake it when they can re-release HD version for the 10th time? Oh, I think it's got to the stage where honestly they probably have one more re-release in them. Like give it like one more fresh lick of paint with like today's kind of technology, make the environments look better. Character models get one more update. I think they could probably squeeze one more of those out. Like keep everything exactly the same, the voice acting, everything. That could probably happen in the next few years, but in terms of like remake, I think we're talking like 12 years, 10, 12 years at least. That's how I feel about it for now. 8 to 10 minimum. It's generally my feeling. I'd be very surprised if they announce a legit Final Fantasy X remake in like the next 3-4 years. Be very surprised. Action game challenges very quickly stopped being interesting to me once I realized almost everything can be beaten without taking a hit, while it's a strategy bit that's more interesting. Yeah, I think that's what it boils down to for me. Karifi and I agree. Like a lot of it comes down to no hit, and for me, like it suits games like let's say the Soulsborne series. Like no hit to me is intriguing. I'll watch challenge runs of that. But for like Final Fantasy 16, like no damage, like it's just to me it's too fundamentally outside of the Final Fantasy experience. And that's something I mentioned quite a bit in Remake / Rebirth as well, with the battle system they have there. Because it's more action-based, I feel like my instinct is to basically like dodge everything and never take damage and block everything perfectly. But in Final Fantasy, it's all about kind of trading damage. You always take damage from the enemies in like the turn-based ATB Final Fantasies. And that's what healing's for. That's, you know, that's what items are for. You're supposed to get hit as part of the game. And so I think when you embrace the fact that you can get hit, you can, you know, it's a back and forth. I think that just makes things a little bit more fun. So I think I agree with that. Yeah, chat is moving fast. I'm trying to keep up, but we have plenty of time, so I'm trying to kind of pace myself. But in a minute, I think now, because I had to warp to Ifrit, I have to take a little bit of time to readjust my HP from the previous fight. Or did I already do that? I might have already done it. Or I came in with full HP anyway. I was just going to ask about Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest 8 is my favorite game of all time and my favorite game series of all time. Yeah, so I think about Dragon Quest, again, I doubt it's going to be the case that I'm going to do Dragon Quest 3 and then I'm going to say, hey guys, like, this is the new Final Fantasy. We're going to do Dragon Quest 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to like 11 or whatever the most recent one is. I don't think I'm going to do that. But I think the best case scenario, if I really enjoy what I played with Dragon Quest 3, I'll probably look to see like maybe 1 or 2 other Dragon Quests. I think I heard 5, 8, and 11 maybe the most out of like the Dragon Quests, like the best ones. And so I could potentially try some different ones, but it won't turn into like me systematically playing all of them. That's generally the idea. Final Fantasy Tactics has a best Sid. We'll have to see. I haven't played it, so I can't comment. How about Fantasian? Yeah, yeah. Square Enix, like JRPG, especially turn-based fans, I think they're eating good this year. I heard about that too. So for anyone who doesn't know what Fantasian is, it's basically it's a game made by Hironobu Sakaguchi himself, the father of Final Fantasy. After he left Square Enix and started his own like studio, I think they're called Mistwalker. They created a game. Uematsu is the main like composer for the soundtrack, but originally it was released on like Apple. Like you had to play it on like an Apple device, and I was just like not into that. But now they've finally kind of teamed up, and Square Enix is working with Sakaguchi again, and they're kind of publishing Fantasian onto like new generation platforms, so you can get it on Steam, I think, like PlayStation, that kind of thing. And so yeah, it gives us a chance to play. But again, I think the release date clashes very closely with Dragon Quest III HD 2D, so I don't think I can do both, but I'm gonna have a look into it, because obviously Sakaguchi and Uematsu, like that's a good combination, man. I feel like I kind of need to see what they did together. And so we'll see. I mean, it depends how the schedule's looking. I would like to play both, but I don't know if I'll have the time to, so we'll see. Stay away from the summoner. Yes, indeed. As long as the next re-release comes with cutscene skips, yes, 100% agree. The actual best way to heal with magic in the game is to put yourself in minimum magic defense, throw an elemental, eater ability, and then double cast gas spells, yeah. This is true. Kane, welcome to the stream, and Sarah Wells too. Good to see you guys. And Star Enery as well. Welcome to the stream. What a big festival when I grow up. See you later, big trigger. Okay, yeah, I ended Dark Valor for max HP and MP anyway, so I didn't need to adjust anything. Nice. Have you checked the can you beat Final Fantasy VII with only limits? No, I haven't. That one I haven't seen. In general, I've never watched any of the Final Fantasy challenges. For me, I try to, well, of that type at least, just in case it kind of over-inspires me. Do you get what I mean? Like in case in the future, if I want to do something with a similar title, I don't want to see like how they've done it, and so I try to keep myself as kind of blind on those things as I can. Now and then, if there's say like a Final Fantasy X challenge, which I know I'm pretty much never going to do, like some kind of crazy acronym thing that someone like Blitzace 469 will do, then I'll watch a little bit of that. But I tend to not watch too much Final Fantasy challenge material myself. I want to thank you for getting me involved with Final Fantasy X challenge runs, which led me to do speed runs of Final Fantasy X. That's cool. Glad you did. Found something that you love doing, so that's cool. Thank you, Pizza Guy. Will Resident Evil series be back soon? Yeah, probably. We will look to see in October what we'll do. I'll make an announcement about that, like when it actually happens. For now, there's too much going on, so it won't be for a few months at least. The sound effects there. Yeah, so from here I kind of made a note of Titus's HP so that I could readjust it, because obviously we have to kind of walk back out here. So let me move forward here to the next one. Why is Ifrit in Beacon? That's a good question. I guess it's hot there, right? If you want another major series to transition to, I would either go into Xeno. Yeah, Xenogears / Saga is one that's of what you've listed there. Xeno is probably the one I'm most interested in for the future. Yeah, I think most people agree it's it's just the heat of Beacon.
You heathen!
Final Fantasy 15 challenge will be trying to play without getting stuck in a bush or something. Okay, finally it's time to catch
Something
up
up
with the
there?
chat
Let's go.
Yeah, I've definitely heard a lot of good things about Xenosaga. Definitely interested in it, but I hear it's also another pretty long game, pretty heavy game. I think that we'll see how the general JRPG situation is going on the channel. Like, if people from the general, that core community that I've already mentioned before, if they're kind of along for the ride for the JRPG material and is doing okay, then that obviously opens up the door for me to do more of it. But if people are like, nope, like even if it's JRPGs, even if they're great JRPGs, we still mostly want to just watch our Final Fantasy content and we don't have time or interest to watch anything else, then of course we have to kind of treat things differently. So I got to respect what the audience kind of wants to see on that front. So yeah, I'll try to balance my time. As you guys know, I always try to find a balance of recording and uploading what I like to do anyway, regardless, versus what the audience likes to watch. So we'll try and find that balance with JRPG material. The amount of time it takes to finish this figure for everyone is no joke. Yep, unfortunately, even if you kind of know what you're doing, there's still a decent chunk of grinding involved, and I wouldn't say it's the most fun aspect of the game. David Whites, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. New members enjoy your badges / emojis. Yeah, Carifian. That's one thing I was thinking ahead to, and when I did this fight, I was kind of like, wait a minute, shouldn't have this been more dangerous? And then I was like, actually, wait a minute, no. Like if you if you can evade it, then it's fine. Super cool. Welcome to stream. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, Thunder level 4 is Thundarger it's such a high level of Thunder that it doesn't even do elemental damage anymore. I gave up luck farming, it was too boring. Yeah, I don't blame you. I can't remember, I think, when was the last time I did a proper legitimate farming of that type of stuff? I think I did some of it for the P-Birdman mod, possibly. But in general, I haven't done that stuff since like 2014. Like nowadays, with all of the editor tools that we have, I'm not doing that grind again. So I tend to just hack in stats now. Thankfully for the Dark Elves, it's not too bad. Like you don't need like insane luck to be able to do it. But like any kind of luck farming at all is definitely tedious. Definitely admit that. Ty, thank you so much. We need you as an NPC in the eventual Final Fantasy X remake. Yeah, if that ever happens, we'll try and make enough noise on the internet for that to happen. We'll do like a big like petition or some kind of thing to try and make that happen. We'll see. For real, Thundarger doesn't do elemental. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Carifian can confirm, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't do elemental damage. You won't take like 0 damage if you have like lightning proof or something. Dark voice in Barthelo. Yeah, I mean, if I was in the game, if I was in a remake and they just kept all the same characters, who do you think I could potentially voice? Honestly, having the British accent doesn't help. There's not that many characters that would work with a British accent in this game, I think. And I don't have a particularly good American accent in the repertoire, so I'm not sure it'd be the best choice. Historians will only come to you for information about this game. You put in more hours than anyone else combined. Thank you, Jackson. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's as I've said before, it's just a big kind of collective thing. Like, obviously the only reason I can share this much knowledge is because other people have discovered it and presented it for me to learn from. Almost none of it is stuff I've kind of organically just learned myself from the game. Like, all of the kind of quote-unquote higher level knowledge that I have, it's all from others, really. So a massive thank you to anyone that's kind of created like guides or like written guides, FAQs, any of that kind of stuff, Ultimanias, all of that. So I'm just kind of I guess a vessel for that information. Getting his own blitzball player. That would be pretty funny. What position would you want to be? I think I'd either be a good attacking player, like when I used to play like football, like the soccer version of football. I was a pretty good attacking player. I have a pretty good left foot, so I'd say I have a pretty good like a shooting stat. So that's probably where I would play. Or I was also pretty quick. I think I'd make a decent like quick defender. So maybe like a male version of like Nida or something. I think that could also work for me. One of those two. Have you heard of the channel Birds of Play? I think you really like their Final Fantasy X character analysis and the Tale of Translation series. No, I haven't heard of that one. I haven't come across it. People can like send me a link to like a video of theirs on like Twitter or Instagram or something like that. I can definitely check it out. Tom Nash, thank you so much. But that's the boring way to stay. The more fun way to say it's so powerful that it ignores resistance to them. Yeah, okay. That's fair. Yeah, appreciate the Machen shoutouts, but I'm not sure I could do that. Machen's voice is just so iconic, like I could never do it justice. He's in my mind, yes, he's an NPC, but he's too important. Like, it needs to be someone that just has like 1 or 2 lines. That's the only thing that would ever work. And well, Seymour, I've always said I think he's one of the most underrated like voice acting performances of the whole game. And so if the original Seymour voice actor's around for the remake and he can still do the Seymour voice, he should do it. I'd be more than happy. Hugh Laurie has a great... Yeah, if I had an American accent like Hugh Laurie, I'd probably try and more seriously do voice acting type stuff. But I think the British accent just... I think Final Fantasy 16 was obviously unique in that it was so British with all of its accents, but in general I think it's not the best accent to have if you want to be a Final Fantasy NPC. Trommel. Can you imagine they offered me Trommel? That'd be like the weirdest kind of like situation. It'd be the craziest thing of ever. But I'm a Trommel hater, so it's just like, do you still take up the role? I mean, after all of those years, like, you get the opportunity of a lifetime, but you have to be Trommel. That's like one of those kind of existential questions. I think you've got to take it. Like, there's no way. Like, it's truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to voice anything in a Final Fantasy X remake. So even if it's Trommel, I'll take it and I'll give it my all for those lines that he has. What was that running around for? Basically, I was trying to get the second one to kind of appear. Just basically, you need to wait for it to pop up. It kind of springs up around the map. Again, just to refer back to the video, for Dark Shiva,
to come back to Makalania Temple, a traitor.
She has the
Find your salvation on the far plane.
she has the Heavenly Strike attack, which has some death attached to it, so she could kill party members if you don't have death proof. And her overdrive hits very hard. So again, if we got ambushed here, it would have been a big problem. That's why Auron is in the front line and Waka isn't. So for anyone still watching, paying attention to the actual challenge, that's what's going on there. So I put that in as like an insurance policy, and that's why I did it that way. So if I get ambushed, then I would have swapped in Waka for Auron instead, so that I could kill her before she gets a chance to use Heavenly Strike. So that was you kind of had to plan that one in advance. And that's why I made sure Waka had a full overdrive and he wasn't on the front line, and Auron was, because he has first strike. So That's generally the situation there. But this is another one. If you miss this attack reels, there's a chance you could screw up the entire thing. So it's at the moment so far, I've kind of breezed through, but there are certain points of it where like general game knowledge and preparation does come into it. And this was one of those fights, so I thought I'd kind of share that as we go along. A British Auron would be dope. Again, Auron's one of those voices where, like, I think the guy who originally voiced him would be very old at this stage. I honestly don't even know if he's still with us, but especially for a remake, he would be like very, very old. I don't think he'd be able to be an Auron. So hearing Auron with a different voice, with just any voice, it's one of those characters so ingrained into my soul that just like I'd have a very hard time adjusting. It would have to be either like almost an impersonation of the original Auron that's very close, that feels right, or it would have to be a whole different kind of voice that I kind of grow to love. I really don't know. But I don't even want to think about hearing Auron with a different voice actor at the moment. How's Auron? You Yevon, you have a parasitic worm. High Pello voice actor, yeah, I think that I could practice for a while. Just you know, ride the shoe puff. Just do that like hundreds and hundreds of times until I really get it down. I think I could do it. You have that collected and composed aura, so I thought Trommel would work. Honestly, Trommel would probably work better than some of the other characters, if I'm being honest. He has a bit of a nasalness to his voice, so I'll choose an allergy day, and then I'll do Trommel's voice. I'll just be like, guys, you have to wait for me. I'll tell the studio, I'll be like, I have to wait for an allergy day, and then I'll give you the Trommel lines that you need. Immune to sensor, yeah, not with this mod. You could always just do the voice line, I'm going to be a Blitzball when I grow up. I might sound a little too old for that kid at this stage. But yeah, I would like that line to remain in the remake, and I would like it to be voice acted. That's what I want. Try to do an Auron Overdrive quote. Yeah, they call me in just to do one Auron Overdrive quote. The one where he screams, "Pray now." That's it. We won't be able to tell that it's him, potentially. I don't want to gain knowledge when I watch the stream, yeah. Sorry about that. Alright, see you later, Tanya. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Matt McKenzie, who voiced Auron, seems to still be alive. That depends on what you mean by alive. But yeah, I think he was already probably in his like mid-50s or something when he recorded Auron, so that was like, what, 23 years ago, 24 years ago? So he must be like over 70 easily. 70, 75, maybe closer to 80, I don't know. So, I don't know, it seems a bit unlikely to me, honestly. It would be awesome, but I don't know. They might give you the Rin boy. Okay, Rin, maybe. Rin I could see. May I help you? I could work on a Rin. I want a voice to stay away from the Summoner Lady. She's an icon legend. Yeah, that's the kind of like very economical, very few lines, but iconic and legendary. Kind of like the High Pello. Just read an Auron quote and add in it at the end. Just add bruv at the end. Rin's VA is Tom Kenny, the VA for SpongeBob. Wow. Yeah, talk about all-star cast, huh? And people still say that this game doesn't have great voice acting. Get out of here. Yeah, it's definitely not impossible. I mean, it can be done. I just don't know what Matt McKenzie's situation in general is. When was the last time he voiced Auron in anything? Like, does Auron have any new lines in games like these, like Dissidia games and stuff? When was the last time Auron had any VA of any kind in any release? And how many years ago was that? And was it Matt McKenzie still? I assume it was, but I don't know like when the most recent line is. So what you're watching here is a quite interesting fight. For those who don't know as much about this one, basically the main problem with this fight is the counterattack that Dark Bahamut does. So I'm going to take a little bit of time to explain what's going on here, and then we'll go back to the chat. The 5th time you attack Dark Bahamut, he will use Impulse. And Impulse in and of itself doesn't do very much damage, but it inflicts you with a whole bunch of breaks. And so if you're not careful, if you obviously have like an armor break on you, for example, then he will destroy you. He'll hit you for absolute maximum damage. So that's what you have to be very careful about with this guy. And so one way you can beat him is by utilizing your high HP, auto regen, cheer, protect, and all of those kind of things, and have him basically lose just by hitting him with counterattacks. So what I'll do here is I'll hit him enough times to at least do some extra damage, but not trigger off Impulse. So in this fight, you're basically not going to see Impulse at all, I think, unless I basically risk it at the end when I've already won. So that's generally what to do here. Like, you can literally, I think you can solo Dark Bahamut by just pressing the defend button. I think it works that way, just from counterattacks alone. So you're going to see basically it's going to be counter attack damage that's going to beat Dark Bahamut here. So I think that's what we do. It's already been a few weeks, so I've kind of already forgotten some of the nuances of stuff, but I think to keep things safe, I basically just opted for counter-attack only. You don't have to do it that way, but it was kind of the safest, I think, easiest way to get it to work. 328 viewers, only 157 likes. Yeah, so let's those are rookie numbers. Let's pump it up a little bit. Anyone who's watching and enjoying the content, enjoying the celebration, please do drop a like. This one I'm not going to upload as a VOD later. This is just going to stay as like an archived stream on the channel. So especially for that reason, it'd be nice if you drop a like. Like last year's one is literally at 70,000 views, which is insane. It's like the most, easily by far the most viewed like stream I've had. So that's pretty wild. So to give more people a chance to see this run and to see us chatting it up, definitely drop a like. You don't want to slow yourself because less regen ticks. Yeah, I think that's, yeah, regen. I've already kind of forgotten the deep mechanics of regen and the tick system of the game, I'll be honest. But I do remember that in general it's to do with like the amount of ticks between actions and turns. That's how much you recover in terms of regen every turn. So if there's like basically 0, like if it's 0 or 1 tick, then you get 100. That's why you see 100. If it's 1 tick, I think it's like 490, and then it scales up from there. But I would go, whatever Carithian says in the chat about this stuff, go with him, because he's the one that has the more kind of up-to-date, it's knowledge that he kind of uses, I guess, more regularly than I do. I learned everything I needed to learn about the CTB and the system for the video that I made, but it's kind of like studying for an exam, and then 2 years later you've forgotten a lot of the nuances and the details. So yeah, Carithian is the man for that. Since unfortunately P Birdman's not in the chat, it'd be really cool if he kind of pops in, but Carithian and P Bird are the two kind of mechanics superstars here for sure. Matt McKenzie last voiced Aeon in Kingdom Hearts 2 in 2006. His most recent acting credit was Drunk Man in the short film Brother X. So yeah, his last acting credit was 6 years ago, and the last time he voiced Aeon was nearly 20 years ago. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, I'm not that convinced that he would be able to reprise his role even now. And well, what we're really talking about is a Final Fantasy X remake probably in like 8 years, 10 years, 12 years. And so, unfortunately, I don't really see it. Mark Cummings, welcome to stream. Good to see you. Another of the OG community members. Studying for exams. What else do you study for? I studied to make YouTube videos. I'm one of those weird people that spends a strange amount of time looking through guides and mechanics and stuff like that to learn them and share them with the world. Maybe they'll use AI voice. Honestly, That's not the most outlandish thing, because obviously he has so many lines, and if you feed an AI of, well, an AI again that appears 10 years later, let's say, considering the way things have advanced up until this point, 10 years later, feed that AI every single Aeon line from the original and then ask them to spit out potentially new ones / rewrites, why not? I mean, maybe they could do it, and maybe it might be a bit of a happy medium where if we can't tell the difference, if it's an AI kind of line or not, then maybe it works. I don't know, like, it's a bit more of an ethical question, I guess, since obviously it's Matt McKenzie's voice technically, so I'm not specifically advocating for it, but I'm just saying, like, would it work? I think, yeah, it probably could work. Would it make sense to cast haste on him to make it even quicker? Yeah, I think it would, but I think I wanted to just play it safer just in case I made a mistake of some kind. I'm pretty sure you could haste him. You'd have to maybe do a little bit more healing in between, because you'd maybe have less time to heal. You'd obviously be getting slapped at a faster rate, so... But yeah, I think you could. I think I did one test run of this before recording it, and in the test run I think I hasted him, but yeah. Yeah, I think Matt McKenzie probably could still do it right now, but again, I'm just thinking of 10 years later Matt McKenzie, not the Matt McKenzie of now. I wouldn't know half of what I know this game whether stumbling across your stream when it was only 5 fans 10. Yeah, those were interesting times. The Final Fantasy X only part of the stream, it was 57 days. The first 57 days, we only streamed Final Fantasy X, and it was thanks to the general love of the game from the community that still, even after 57 days of Final Fantasy X only, people were still there. And so, yeah, long term it still wasn't a solution, but even getting almost 2 months of Final Fantasy X only was pretty insane. Is max HP an absolute must for this particular challenge? Honestly, I don't know. It's a challenge I completely made up. It's not necessary to fight the Dark Aeons. If you're asking in general, like, do you need this much HP to beat the Dark Aeons? The answer is no. But if you're talking about what I'm doing for this specific challenge, where I'm trying to beat them all kind of back to back without getting KO'd at all and all that kind of stuff, then it seems pretty likely that you need to. But I didn't put that much thought into it. Like, this is the kind of thing where, again, one good thing about having the platform that I do for Final Fantasy X is that I can do things like this, and it kind of lays down the gauntlet for other people. So someone might watch this video and say, hey, like, okay, this has been relatively easy for a challenge player. I'm going to do what he did, but I'm going to do it without breaking the HP limit, so maybe it's possible. And it basically spawns like new ideas, new challenges, and that's why that stuff is great. So yeah, maybe it can be done. I haven't even tried to think about it without break HP limit, but maybe. Yeah, Square Enix damage control, I'm not even going to read that line. We don't mention it, we don't talk about it. You know, you're not getting that from me. Daniel Scott, thanks for joining us. See you later. Take care. Has anyone died yet? Nope. We are all still alive. But things are going to get interesting when we have to take on Dark Anima. Interesting indeed. Because, obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, Dark Anima has a regular attack called Pain, and Pain cannot be blocked even with Death Proof. And so 1 in 3 attacks from Dark Anima could KO a character. So we have to try and navigate that, beat Dark Anima without using Zanmato, of course. I'm not just going to come in and Zanmato Dark Anima. So we have to try and make it through the Dark Anima fight without anyone dying if we can. So, ironically enough, once again, Dark Anima rears her ugly head and becomes like the bane of a challenge, so you guys will see how we got through that. So I'll talk more about it when we get to that fight, but Dark Anima should be interesting for sure. Yeah, so Ribbon won't protect you against, like, nothing will protect you against Pain. If Pain hits a character, they will die. It's like hard-coded into the game. It's just literally like always. There's no way to avoid it. Without the HP, limit is doable since you only auto-protect, shell, and auto-life. Well, the thing is, I think there's, like, for example, Nemesis can use Ultra Spark, which does like 30,000 damage. I don't think you can bring Ultra Spark down below like quad 9, And since we're not using auto life here, I don't know if you can beat Nemesis. Maybe if you get, yeah. So Nemesis alone might be a bit of a problem. So. PMSN, thank you for joining us, and I appreciate the support. I know, but stone is a problem. Yeah, that's why we have ribbon. So ribbon's on the setup anyway, that's fine. I was talking more specifically about Dark Anima's pain move. I did see a video once of Dark Anima with guaranteed no party KOs, ironically, but that takes a very specific setup. Interesting. But I mean, that's weird. How would you guarantee it? Isn't there even a little bit of RNG? That's interesting. But maybe you'll see elements of that in this particular run. No auto life, I'm sorry, I meant auto phoenix. Yeah, so again, in this challenge there's no auto phoenix either, so there's just nothing. If someone dies, they die. It's like that Rocky meme. If he dies, he dies. Nemesis, you'd have to sacrifice summons to tank Ultra Spark. Yeah. So in that sense, yeah, it's possibly doable. So I do think it's worth investigating. I think like anyone watching this, and if you're a bit of a challenge player, you like to think about these things, it's definitely one of those where it's worth looking into it. So can you do this whole thing without breaking the HP limit? It may be possible. I put no thought into it. If you want to give it a go, you're more than welcome to. It's something I myself might look into, so if you do end up doing it, do let me know. But I'd like to have a look into it myself at some point as well when I have time, because I did like the concept of the challenge, but obviously just doing this one for starters was already enough for me. And while my strategy also relies on surviving Oblivion from Anima as well, so you'll see all that stuff later. Are we doing penance with this setup? Yes, we are. Dark Anima is my purgatory. I clicked on the stream and was talking about her. Yeah, it was meant to be. Scribble Bear, welcome to the stream. Good to see you. Are there any restrictions to this today? There are many. I'll let the chat fill you in. I've repeated it a few times at this stage. Let me continue to make my way through. You make her use Oblivion every single turn. Okay, fair play. That's interesting. Yeah, I guess that's potentially doable. I didn't have a setup that allowed me to do that, but I think that's pretty smart. You could probably do it like that. But for the record, that's not how I did it. Does anyone know how many boss fights there are in Final Fantasy X? I don't. Karifian again might be able to answer that. Like mandatory boss fights, I don't know. Corey Wells, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Nev G, see you later. Take care. Thanks for joining us for this part. Does RNG play a big role in this and the penance fights? I think for the Dark Anima fight, there were a few times where I just couldn't do things properly, and I did need RNG sometimes. But again, it's not something I really mapped out in advance. I kind of just went for it and tried to kind of make up stuff on the fly. I think if you put a lot of thought into it and you plan every fight down to a T, I think you can make it much more foolproof. So yeah, I took a little break here. There we go. Just to collect myself. Tatzelworm, welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining us. Have you beaten Final Fantasy X on every system available? I don't think I've done like a full start to finish playthrough on any of the portable systems, possibly. Yeah, so in general, for this fight, basically what I tried to do, obviously I tried to unload as many attack reels with Waka as well as I could to kind of shorten the fight. But what I needed to do was basically survive Oblivion. So Oblivion does a fixed amount of damage, and if you have max HP like I do, it means that you can basically survive Oblivion. But when you do, you'll survive it with no MP left, and so you have to basically make sure you heal your characters up without any MP. So that's one of the things that is a problem. And the next thing is this pain attack. So for me at least, I was trying to avoid pain being used on my characters. So what you're going to see here is I'm literally going to summon pretty much every single time Anima has a turn, because pain might end up being used. So the idea here is to try our best to avoid pain using our Aeons. So what I remembered here, basically I had to literally refer to one of my old videos to kind of figure out what I was doing here. And basically the idea here is that when you summon, you need to do it in a way that when you dismiss your Aeon, you get as many turns as possible so that you can attack Dark Anima. So basically, take a look at the CTB here. This is kind of difficult to explain live without any kind of preparation. But if you look at the CTB now, I have a huge amount of turns. Now, what would have happened is if, let's say, Pain wasn't used, it used a normal attack on Valifor, and I just instantly dismissed without casting haste, without doing anything, my party would have way less turns here. The idea is basically the more ticks left over when you're dismissing your Aeon, the more turns your party members can get after your Aeon is dismissed, and that gives us a window to do damage basically. So that's either your Aeon needs to die, because if they die the same tick that they die, that's when your kind of party comes back in and they basically get the maximum number of turns. Or if you manage to get your Aeon into haste, then because their turns come more quickly, Anima takes a turn, your Aeon gets their next turn after getting haste, and there's still a decent number of ticks left until Anima gets their next turn. And so that's when you dismiss your Aeon. So hopefully it will make a little bit more sense as you watch, but that's the general kind of premise here. So if you look right now, Anima's about to get a turn, but before she does, we summon. Obviously at this stage I can't use any of these Aeons again. And now we have to hope that Dark Anima doesn't use Pain every single time as the first move. So here, if you look, haste comes in. This time Pain doesn't get used, but because Ifrit is in haste now, Ifrit's next turn came more quickly than it normally would. So you can see the pink bar next to the first kind of boss thing where Anima is. There's a pink bar that's bigger than there was before we summoned. And so now when I dismiss Ifrit, you get a couple of extra turns. It's not perfect because it's the first time we've done it, but hopefully the next time you get a few more turns as a result. So that's the general idea of what we're trying to do here. So literally not letting Anima get a free shot at the party was how I tried to do this. Again, this wasn't some super thought out like crazy strategy, but this is what I basically just tried to do to see if I could kind of survive for as long as possible. If I get the turns here, I try to kind of potentially just make my next turn come as quickly as possible, or just shield. And so that's a general idea. Hoffenheim, thank you for the donation. I do have the Turkey-Portugal game on the site. I didn't have high hopes for this one anyway, but yeah, we're not going to get very far in that game, unfortunately. I'd be very surprised if we can make a comeback from here. But yeah, when an Aeon dies, you can see how many turns you get afterwards. It makes quite a big difference. But we need to make sure we basically have enough Aeons to complete the whole fight. How late am I? You're about halfway in. We're going to be streaming for quite a while. So honestly, for the Penance fight, depending on how long it's been going, I might have to skip ahead a bit for that one. Because it's such a long fight. We'll probably wrap things up a little bit soon after that. But there's still plenty to go, probably a couple of hours or so. So this now is me preparing to heal again after Oblivion happens. So let's watch this first Oblivion. And obviously the goal is during Oblivion, I want to get as much of my overdrive back as possible, so that I can fire off some extra attack reels if I get the chance. Does Dark Anima's Pain technically have the same effect as Zanmato, so it would kill anything? Yeah, anything you put in front of Dark Anima's Pain, it will die. Okay, so here comes Oblivion. It's going to do like 80 to 85,000 damage. It's basically like fixed damage. Unless you use shield with an Aeon. But all of our MP is going to go as well, and we're going to be left with not a lot of HP, so we're going to need to heal. So Pain is the strongest boss, so it would beat Penance. Yeah, I mean, if you hack the game to put Penance in front of Dark Anima, and Dark Anima used Pain, technically, yes, I think Penance would die. Again, Carithian can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's how it works. Like, literally everything. So yeah, there we go. We survived the Oblivion. This is another reason why only having max at like quad 9 HP for this particular strategy wouldn't work. But if there is a way to basically do it by summoning shields for Oblivion, then maybe there's a way around it, I don't know. But basically my strategy that I've done, it relies on tanking the Oblivion every time. And so now Riku gets a chance to shine. And she's going to heal everybody up fully. Dark Anima is banned from the Penance Speedrun leaderboard. Indeed. If there was a way to recruit Dark Anima, then yeah. Carnifex Knight, welcome. Good to see you. Trusty finalist. I was trying to remember how to mix it, by the way, here. It had been a while, that's why it took me a while to mix that first one. But yes. And we're back. And so now I can go back to it once again. So yeah, this is basically the general loop here. Doing my best to hope I have enough Aeons to kind of see this through. Damn, James485 coming in hot with 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much. A literal Hall of Famer in the Danzo 8 community. He has the first and currently only Hall of Fame he is the only entrant into the Hall of Fame so far. For anyone wondering what the Danzo 8 Hall of Fame is, like, it's more of a 24/7 stream community thing. So if anybody manages to win Viewer of the Month 3 times, you're only eligible once a year. So if you've been on the 24/7 stream for 3 years, like generally hanging out in the chat and being a community member, and you win Viewer of the Month 3 times, then you become a Hall of Fame member of the community. And that's what James is. So massive thank you to him. So far so good. It's been working pretty well for this Dark Anima fight. Basically, if Dark Anima uses their regular attack as their first move against an Aeon, then it's perfect. Yeah, I did wait for a potential Mega Graviton. Mega Graviton's also very dangerous. So yeah, the trick to this one is generally, like, this is a big kind of CTB knowledge kind of battle. Like, if you don't understand how the CTB works before, during, and after summons, then, you know, you're probably less likely to kind of do it the way that I've done it. So it's all about trying to leave as much CTB space as possible when you're ready to dismiss your Aeon, and then your characters will kind of fill in the gap because they're so quick and they have auto haste. So that's the general idea here. The only trouble comes if, let's say, you kind of fail to make a summon, or you get your order wrong, you get something wrong, and then you're kind of stuck out there on the front line, and Dark Anima gets a free hit at you, because then you have to pray. If Dark Anima gets a move, there's a 1 in 3 chance that it uses Pain, which is obviously instant KO, unavoidable. There's a 1 in 3 chance it uses the regular attack, which should be okay, depending on who it hits. It gives you Curse, I think, so you'd have to just dispel that, but it's not the end of the world. And there's a 1 in 3 chance it does Mega Graviton, which is pretty nasty, but depending on when it happens, you'll be able to recover from it. So here's the next Oblivion. Obviously I'm trying to speed through it a little more at this stage. And yes, Wind Waker is most definitely correct. 1 in 1 chance of Oblivion at full overdrive. But yeah, the reason I didn't entrust her is because Riku, she has stuff like eccentric stacked on, so she's able to get a full overdrive from one Oblivion. And there we go. Your boy Joe Goat, welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, I think another reason I generally thought that having absolute max HP would be a good idea is because I thought like maybe depending on if you have like if you need to use a lot more X potions and heals and stuff as a result of being only quad 9 HP, you might not have enough items to see through the challenge. And so I thought with this I can rely a lot more on just like regen healing and that kind of thing. So that was generally part of the strategy as well. YouTube user, so enigmatic. Thank you for the donation, appreciate that. Favorite Final Fantasy 12 girl, I like Penelo best. I think it's got to be Fran for me. I think Fran, like, I love the kind of the dialect, the accent that that the Viera have. It's very cool. And well, generally the whole Fran Balthier, I think like, they're just so cool. So I think Fran probably my favorite. Stealthy, hi. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining us. So yeah, at the moment we're keeping pace. We've lost three of our summons, but we're still okay. So far so good, but I think there's at least 1 or 2 spots where I screwed up here. So this was pretty perfect. I just about managed to get the hits in on time to get the full overdrive. Are you YouTubing full time now? I have been since probably, honestly, since like the pandemic stuff started, so 2020 or so. I think 2019/2020. That's how I'm able to obviously have so many videos and so much ongoing material at the same time. There's just no way. If I was kind of part-timing it or doing it as a hobby, there's no way I could put out anywhere near as much content. If I had to go back to kind of being just doing it for fun, purely for fun, it would be like 1 series ongoing, and that's it. Robert Edge, thank you, appreciate that. Thanks for joining us today. Pretty much watched all of your Let's Plays. That's crazy. Again, as I've said, there's 4,600 videos at the moment on the channel, with the vast majority of them now being Let's Plays. He likes Fran for her accent. Yeah, sure, buddy. Hey, people like me because of my accent. It can happen. Are you going to do more Omega Ruins-like challenges? I still have to catch up with the 13 one, but I really like both. If I can think of them, sure. Like the short challenge, the mini challenge format, I really enjoy. If anybody has any ideas they want to pitch at me for Final Fantasy mini challenge ideas, that would be like up to maybe 30 episodes or so tops. So 30 episodes would be like, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 hours, including like editing time, all that kind of stuff, something like that. So yeah, definitely. But those are kind of, I need to think of the ideas for that to work. Are you making 100k a year with YouTube? I never discuss like specifically how much money I make. I don't like that whole topic, that talk. I don't do it in my real life when people ask me about the channel and stuff. But I can definitively say no, I'm not making 100k a year. I wish I was, but no, nowhere near. Just been fighting the Lunar Primals in Final Fantasy 14, but I still refer to them as Dark Aeons. Yeah, I think I saw the promo about Dark Anima appearing in Final Fantasy 14, but then I heard, like, I asked 1 or 2 people, I was like, oh, so how was it? Like, was it like, you know, like, how awesome was it to see Dark Anima? I think it was Anima, I don't think it was Dark Anima in 14. They said it was kind of like okay, but it wasn't as cool as like we thought. So it was a little bit of a disappointment, I heard from some people. But I was generally kind of... It was just nice to see Anima appearing once again. Your Final Fantasy X Let's Play was the best by far on YouTube. Thank you. Appreciate that. That's what I tried to do. It's very rare that you get anywhere near trying to achieve a lofty goal like that, but on very, very rare special occasions you get close. I'm honored to be a watcher since before you became a full-time YouTuber. Yeah, so chat, people that's watching the video and chatting, what year would you say was like the first video that you guys watched on the channel? Also, I think this is where I screwed up. Yeah, this is an example of where I screwed up and I had to rely on RNG. So I'm not sure, I've not been looking closely. I got a bit lucky. That's why I threw Kimari in, by the way. So looking at the video now, I don't remember if I made a mistake or just bad RNG. I probably made a mistake. And so I had to basically potentially sacrifice a character. And so I tried to bring like Kimari in, as unfortunately he was kind of the most expendable of the bunch. And I used Sentinel just in case it maybe blocked Pain. It probably doesn't. But yeah, so I managed to dodge a bullet there. But managed to keep everybody alive. Only 97k, yeah. Again, I wish. ...2014. It's been 10 years. Was on the Monster Arena fights. What, from like the Final Fantasy 10 100% playthrough? Again, that would probably be around 2014. 2021. Dark Anima No Sphere Grid. Wow, that's old school. That's 2011. Yeah, it's cool to see again how many we do have from 2014, so people that saw the Final Fantasy X playthrough, but that continue to stick with the channel and the content from there. Like, that's awesome. But yeah, of course, that particular series is one of those that kind of follows through the years. There's a lot of people who obviously came across it like 4 or 5 years later, so a lot of 2018, 2020, but still coming in because of the Final Fantasy X. Genma, welcome to the stream, by the way. Good to see you. It doesn't block Pain, yeah. I brought him in anyway, just as a, you know, to lower the chance of someone more important getting taken out. In 2013, it was your Crash 3 Platinum Relics run. Oh, nice. Wow, yeah. I remember being at uni making that. Wow, that's old school. Like, that's legit. That video got quite a lot of views. Those were like the earlier days of YouTube where you could make any kind of guide / compilation or anything like that of like a relatively popular game, and over time, like, it would do pretty well. I barely had any subscribers when I made that, but ended up getting a lot of views. But I guarantee you, if I made the same video today, it wouldn't get anywhere near as many views. It was just a different time, a whole different era. My first ever video was from Final Fantasy X Facts from 2017. Nice. That's cool. I had Final Fantasy X Summer with the stream. I love that. The Final Fantasy X Summer of 2018. That's dope. Needed help with Luxfears 2018. Is Anima unique to Final Fantasy X? Yes. As someone mentioned, they made like a cameo appearance in 14, but yeah, it's exclusive to 10. It's another reason why it's one of my absolute favorites. Not just the personal history that I have, of course, with Dark Anima. But yeah, it's cool to see how many people in the chat have been here for years, basically. I don't think I've seen a single like 2023. And there you go, Dark Anima has been defeated as well. And we managed to keep everybody alive. So yeah, I dodged a bullet in this one, but I managed to keep everybody alive. So this was a huge relief. And from here on, I was thinking, okay, I can do this. I can complete this challenge. Your playthrough was the reason I played Final Fantasy X again. I never knew there was Dark Aeons. Dark Aeons were part of the thing that drew me back into playing 10 as well, man. I was such a noob back then. I had no idea that there were dark Aeons. Sometimes the music cuts out. I think it's when you're in like speed up mode. But this theme is so nice. I really like the P-Bird mod series. Been here since about 2015. Nice. What year did you become full time? Again, like mid 2019 or so, I'd say. 2020. I've done it kind of, I've spent a lot of time on it for so long, like even before that, between say 2014 and 19, I probably still spent like at least a part-time job's worth every week kind of making content, but I had like basically like other jobs, but I kind of took the plunge and went more fully full-time in late 2019 or so, I would say. Yeah, I mean, it's very fair to say that Final Fantasy X at this stage has stood the test of time. I think it's still second only to Final Fantasy VII. I think in terms of community size, like it's still huge. People can't get enough of the game. I mean, it's not just me. I'm obviously the person that's kind of the face of the channel, the quote-unquote face of the channel, but it's more than clear over the years that Final Fantasy X just continues to get so much love and support from everybody, and people still have love for it. They still enjoy watching content about it. They love learning about it. Yeah, like it's that game. It really is. There's very few like it, I think. And so I'm just one of those lucky people that happen to be like super passionate about a game that touched the hearts of so many people and that continues to get supported so much today. So yeah, definitely a right place at the right time kind of thing for me and the content. I so rarely get to see you live. Yeah, unfortunately, I guess now that I go live more than I ever have in the channel's history, but obviously if the time slot doesn't work for you guys, then you rarely get to see me live, unfortunately. But yeah, every other Tuesday, 1:30 PM UK time, I go live now. We play the Final Fantasy X Sphere Grid Randomizer, but obviously if you can't make those, then yeah, it's pretty tough. I started watching the Final Fantasy X playthrough and noticed how calm you were, which is nice because I'm very not calm when I'm playing. I think obviously with 10 it's a bit unfair because I know the game so well. It's obviously a bit easier to be chill when you know the game pretty well. You can get yourself out of situations, or you know what to expect and that kind of thing. So it definitely helps. I'm definitely a bit less calm when I play like Elden Ring or something. I know you probably wouldn't, but would you ever do another full Let's Play of Final Fantasy X HD with a PC version? No, I don't think so. I see no motivation to do that personally. There's so many other Final Fantasy X runs that I can do instead of just a full Let's Play. So no. Since doing YouTube full time, how have things been? Have you had any doubts or second thoughts? No, I think I had all of those doubts and second thoughts for maybe like 5 years before it. But it's kind of like when you go for it, you go for it, you know. And you just have to do it. You just see if it's going to work or not. And if you're constantly kind of looking over your shoulder, like, is it going to work? Can it work? It shouldn't work. Maybe it's not the best idea. Like, you just won't have the right mindset, I think, the right mentality to do this thing full time and do it consistently. So I don't really. It's one of those where if it comes to a stage where it's not sustainable anymore, like I can't like pay my mortgage, I can't like pay my bills or whatever, then you know, it is what it is. I'll have to find something new. I've had a hell of a run, so yeah, I don't take anything for granted. You just keep making the content, stay consistent, keep enjoying myself, and yeah, just do my best. So that's how we do it on this channel. How did the filmmaking go? Are you still doing it? Good question. It went pretty well, I would say. But for now, I'm kind of on long-term kind of hiatus, I guess. From that stuff, I haven't done any legit filmmaking stuff in maybe 4 or 5 years now. I got as far as like working on a few like TV commercials and stuff in Turkey. Like directed a few little projects, that kind of thing. It was going okay, but honestly not like the way that it was progressing. It didn't turn out to quite be the industry that I hoped it would be, I guess. And the only way I could really have known that was to get into it. And I wasn't that big a fan of the commercial side. I was obviously a bit more into trying to do a bit more of the creative stuff, the stuff that you get to have a bit more creative control, a bit more, you know, tell stories, do interesting things, that kind of thing. And I couldn't really break into that side of things. And that whole story was just kind of like, I didn't like who I potentially had to become to do that, and the hoops I would potentially have to jump through. And, you know, I think ultimately I probably wasn't that super talented as a filmmaker anyway. I think you have to be a bit honest with yourself as well. Like, I could have done it, I think, if I pursued it. I could have probably still been a full-time filmmaker person, but I don't think I was like a real natural big talent filmmaker that could have made it, kind of thing. So I think it was a mix of all of those things, and obviously the YouTube channel still going so well and being so consistent and being a good kind of reliable source of income, which I never thought it would be for so long. And eventually I was like, you know what, I think this is where my kind of destiny lies. This is like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to try and make it work. And so that's what I did. The stream celebrate new subscribers, no resubscribe in chat. Yeah, it's the OGs that tend to stick around, man. The newer subscribers are just so engrossed in the content, they're all just busy just watching the content. They ain't got no time for this stuff. We'll be curious to see if you fight the Mega Sisters combined. Yeah, we'll see. Sorry, I'm still trying to catch up with the chat. There's been a lot of questions and chat going on. I wonder if you could boss rush the weapons in Fireman. I think the boss rush format in general is pretty cool, and so I could definitely look into doing some more of that stuff. Thank you, Real. Glad you could join us. Thank you so much for all of the work you put into the stream as well in the community. Our very own Albed tech support. See you later. Can't get mad if you get sub-zero time on the yellow chicken first attempt. Yeah, that was nuts. That's why I didn't feel as bad about failing the lightning dodging, because I already did something pretty special anyway, so it's like, that can make up for it. I watched that 113 video whenever I feel the need to laugh at you. Yeah, the box phalanx, that's just a legendary video. That's great. That's one of those I kind of laughed watching back as well. Some of those videos are just, they're fun for that stuff too. That's why editing can sometimes be really fun too. I get to obviously see it from a viewer perspective as well. You know, sometimes when you detach yourself from the actual playthrough and you're watching yourself back, certain things are just so silly and so funny that you didn't realize or feel at the time. So I get to relive it to some extent in a different way, so that's cool. Are you ever going to play Final Fantasy II NES where the game was at its best? Probably not. I don't have enough motivation for that. I didn't enjoy it at its worst or best or any version of it, so I don't see myself going back to Final Fantasy II specifically. Dan Pollard, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. So many people decided to rise issue buff. Yes, indeed. Yeah, a lot of generous gifted memberships today as well. Thank you guys so much. I definitely stumbled across some of your earliest videos back in 2008. Wow. While looking for a Final Fantasy X guide, but that was before I even had a YouTube account, so I didn't really follow channels at all. Yeah, I mean, in that era, I think even subscribing to channels and following them just wasn't really a practice that a lot of people were into. Like, I don't think I subscribed to many people back in 2008. Yeah, box phalanx. Legendary. Yeah, if you haven't seen it before, you should definitely watch the 13 playthrough for that alone. I still say it, I think 13 is one of my playthroughs I'm the most proud of. I'm really happy with how my 13 playthrough turned out. I feel like I was able to put the game's best foot forward, and a lot of people, like, over the years I've had tons of people that have said like they weren't fans of 13 and they watched the playthrough and they gave it another chance and they appreciated it more and that kind of thing. So yeah, I've always liked the 13 playthrough personally. David Rusk, thank you very much, appreciate that. And thank you Alex Moran as well. I'm glad you enjoyed the Aura and Elden Ring video. That was definitely a wild project. Thank you for the gifted membership, Dan. I think Anima makes an appearance somewhere over a dozen other games. Yeah, I think that's one of those where, yes, technically, but I think if we're talking about like, in terms of like the main Final Fantasy games, it's like one of the staple summons of the game. It only appears in 10. Again, I don't really count the 14 appearance because it's kind of more of a, that game is so open to kind of doing callbacks from other Final Fantasies and their expansions and that kind of thing. Like it's a whole different vibe. So fair enough. DBT, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Good to have you here. I also wish for Final Fantasy X-3, but I'd bet my money that a remake has more chances to come up. I would say so too. I think Final Fantasy X-3 is too much of a risk. Remake is more like, from a business standpoint, it's easier money. It's more guaranteed to work, I think. I remember dying so hard to Dark Yojimbo first time. Dispel Auto Life was harsh, man. Agreed. Yeah, this was one of those Dark Aeons where before I had all of the max stats, I knew all the strategies. When I faced it, it just completely wiped the floor with me, and I was just like, I have no clue how to beat this thing. Did you all know there was a button to turn on allow gift subs? I just found out. Yeah, it's one of those strange things. I don't know why YouTube doesn't make that more obvious or put like a pop-up. If you don't have it turned on when you enter like a live chat, it should kind of pop up something and tell you. So if anyone's never been gifted a subscription, either you have a brand account, which I believe you're not, like, they're not eligible to receive them, or you haven't opted in, or you've just been unlucky. It's one of those three things. Princess Magical, thank you for joining us, the biggest Final Fantasy IX fan in the community. It's good to see you. Thank you for your support over the years. Minerva, welcome to the stream. What do you get from beating these Dark Aeons? You get you get Dark Matters as items, and you get like weapons or armor that have potentially nice stuff on them. So like break damage limit for weapons, break HP limit for armors, ribbon for armors, and a bunch of like specific things. That's generally, and well, you get one step closer to unlocking penance. I wonder why you have to fight Dark Yojimbo more than once. That is an interesting decision, honestly. I'm kind of glad they did it that way, but it's a bit curious. I don't know why they did that, but it's cool. I mean, I like the idea. The way that I still feel like I wish the battle changed more. Like, let's say it started at 800,000 HP, and it went up to like 2.5 million for the final one. Just the only difference being that his overdrive goes up more quickly. I kind of feel like that's a bit kind of not that interesting. So I would have hoped to have seen something a little bit more. If I was a modder, I think that's one of the ways I would have probably modded Dark Yojimbo. I would have given him different, like, either potentially stats or maybe change some abilities up and that kind of thing. So remasters over remake in this day and age. Yeah, depending on the game, I would agree. Like, I think for Final Fantasy IX, I think that needs more of a remaster than a remake, like something in the middle. I definitely don't think it needs like a big remake. I remember my strategy against Dark Yojimbo originally was hope he doesn't use Wakizashi. Yeah, that attack the first time you see it is just, it's terrifying if you don't have like crazy defense. Pippo, thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us.
Rides the shoe puff?
There we go, the iconic line.
All aboard!
The more you engage with the channel, the luckier you are. I think that's what it tells you in terms of being gifted a membership, but I've definitely seen some things in the past. I think Scribble Bear was a good example, actually. Scribble Bear in the chat right now. When we were doing some of those Final Fantasy IX streams on the road to Ozma, I remember Scribble Bear was very active in those streams, and it took so long to be gifted. I think there must have been like 50 memberships gifted, and Scribble Bear didn't get one of them, and then they like somehow got one later on. So either they were extremely unlucky, or YouTube's not as smart as it tells us that it is. So I think one's more likely than the other. Hoppenheim, thank you for the donation once again. Appreciate that. Needed a place to farm Dark Matters. Yeah, that's... I mean, I just don't know if they thought about it in those terms. It would be interesting if one of the people in charge of designing that thought, hey, let's give the players a way to farm Dark Matters. I'm not sure if they did, because there's obviously other ways to do it too, but ultimately I'm kind of glad that they did it that way. So yeah, Dark Magus Sisters coming up. I figured at this stage the video is already long enough that even if I fail here, I've got enough content for a cool 200k subscriber thing. So I thought, you know what? Let's take them all on together. So that's what we're going to do. Any chance you'll play Kingdom Hearts 2 if you like the first one? Yes, of course. If I like the first one, I'll definitely play the second. But I'm not going to kind of already promise that I'm going to just play all of them, because there's a reason I haven't played Kingdom Hearts up until now. But I'm going to give it, I'm definitely going to give it a fair try and see how we do. Now I don't want to skip the video too far ahead. I don't know how long I waited here before I started. There we go, okay. So yeah, Tide is just being a Chad there, just standing there, just not even trying to run. He's ready to roll. Damn, I found him in Detroit Become Human. That's a rarity. That's one of the series I actually really enjoyed as well. It was good fun. I quite enjoyed the story and the choices, and I think it's a nice one. It's a real, like, I try my best to play it like in a way where I gave everything as much thought as possible. So if you've never seen that series, it's definitely an interesting one to watch. It really poses some difficult and interesting questions. Moonstar, welcome to the stream, and Matamana, aka Luigi, thank you for joining us. The challenge is going well. We cleared the biggest hurdle so far, which I think was Dark Anima, and now this is another one of the biggest hurdles, trying to take on the Dark Magus Sisters all together. So for this, basically there's some really deadly attacks you have to be careful of. The first being, of course, the Delta attack that they do, which will completely obliterate your party. So you basically have to make sure you summon a shield to take it. And so your own Magus Sisters kind of need to survive up until this point to make sure you definitely survive the Delta attack. Sotek, welcome to the stream. Appreciate you joining us, and congratulations on the newborn. Thoughts on the Final Fantasy taking place in space? I'm not sure about it taking place entirely in space would work, but I tend to prefer like the space sections. So like Final Fantasy VIII's one, for example, is iconic. And you do have the lunar bit in Final Fantasy IV, like the ending of that and stuff. So I don't think I'd want to see like a full Final Fantasy in space, but could definitely work with like individual sections. Do you have your YouTube plaques? I have, well, I only have one, because you get one at 100,000 subscribers and the next one's at 1 million. So I'm probably never going to have the second one, but having the first one was already a huge honor, and it has pride of place on my shelf above my kind of PC and setup. Which Dark Aeon do you think is the hardest to beat? I think first time round, if you're doing kind of like a blind run, the Dark Magus Sisters trio is probably incredibly hard to beat. I think, of course, Dark Anima has to be one of the hardest. I'm again trying to think about it in terms of new players that aren't looking up guides and strategies and all that kind of stuff, because they all get kind of trivialized to some extent once you do all of that preparation. So I think probably those two, probably the hardest, I think. Dark Bahamut because of impulse and people potentially not knowing how to deal with it, but I think Dark Anima has more weapons that are problematic and the same applies to Dark Maga Sisters. Jessica Wilcox, welcome to the stream, thanks for joining us. And yeah, once the stream is done, it will be available for everybody to watch the full thing as well. Disagree about remastering 8. Junction system is great, it wasn't quite waterproof. Yeah, I think 8 is one of the games where I would prefer remake over remaster. I'm with you on that. Kingdom Hearts 2 is better, but you can stop there. I also wouldn't get mad if you Chrono Trigger first. Yeah, I am hearing that general sentiment a lot, like play 1 and 2 and then stop. I don't know. Yeah, if I like 1 enough to play 2, then a lot of people say 2 is the best one. And so I'd feel relatively confident that I would like 2 even more probably. So it all hinges on, do I like 1 enough? Or if it's just kind of like, yeah, I played through it for you guys, you've wanted it for years, I kind of did this one, you know, for the community. But I think I'm gonna take a step back. How about playing Legend of Dragoon? Yes, that's one of the ones that's on the list. It was very close to coming to the channel a few years back. I think it lost to Nier Automata. I did like a poll back in the day to decide which one to play. It was very close, but Nier Automata won. And ultimately, I don't think it was the worst thing in the world, because Nier Automata ended up being one of the best, like the most enjoyed like playlists on the channel. Like a lot of people watch that. Considering it was something non-Final Fantasy that I did as a playthrough, it was very successful. So I love the game. I thought it was incredible, and the fact that it got viewed so much as well, I think it kind of ticked all the boxes as a content creator. How many Aeons went down to Anima? I think Karifian's right. It was either 4 or it was 5. I don't really remember. I've spent like 3% of this actually looking at the video at this point. I'm just hoping that everything works. Just been looking at the chat. You guys have been very busy, so thank you for keeping me company and celebrating the big milestone. Imagine Final Fantasy 12 in space, literally Star Wars. I think if there was one game to set, like if it had a lot more set in space, I think 12 is probably the game to do it. Just really lean into that Star Wars comparison even more. 1 million subscribers, pack 2025. Yeah, if someone wants to make me a make me a 200k subscriber plaque, then sure, go ahead. Do like a Final Fantasy themed one, like my own personalized one. Maybe for 250, at least make it more of a legit milestone. If you never figured out Bahamut's trick, it's impossible. Yeah, it's one of those where you'll kind of get hit with it once or twice, and hopefully I think most players should kind of realize that something's happening. And then at the very least you'd hopefully realize that you're getting the breaks on you. And then it kind of depends on your stats and do you have enough time to dispel the breaks, and it turns into a really messy run once you start having impulse hit you all the time. But hopefully you'll be able to get through. But that's why I say it's definitely a tough boss to deal with. One of the hardest for sure. But I can't, like, as a fresh player, like, facing these 3 at the same time, the Dark Maga Sisters, that's got to be harder than Dark Bahamut. Like, even here, I'm kind of struggling to figure it out. Basically, because I didn't do a huge amount of research before this, the one thing I wasn't too sure about is we've got the Camisade attack and we've got the Razia attack. And those two, they're so powerful that if you're unprepared, even at max health, you can get killed. And I didn't do enough prep to figure out, how do I survive it? Like, can I, if I do like Cheer, is Sentinel enough to do it? And so here I was kind of thinking about trying to make sure I didn't get killed by Razia or Camisade during this whole thing. And the other trouble is that Pasado has Death Touch, like a death kind of element attached to it, status attached to it. And so I needed to get rid of Mindy as soon as possible. So this is where this was a little bit hectic and tough to deal with, and I think I had to get lucky once or twice in not having Pasado hit me, for example. I think if you hyper-optimize, there's a way to take out, I think, Mindy, or like at least one of them before they even get a turn. I've definitely seen something like that years ago, but the fact that we got ambushed, I think, already made that not possible. So this was where I had to kind of rely on a little bit of luck to not lose anybody here. Okay, back to the chat we go. This is why I don't stream all the time. This is hard work for me, man. shout out to all the regular streamers. Those guys are built different. Alright, let's see. Today is my birthday and I get to watch Final Fantasy X. Scott C, happy birthday. Thank you for joining us on your birthday. Hope you have a good one. The chat just skipped down. Just see. Instagram still says 100,000 subscribers, got updated to 200. That's true. I should probably do that. It's that shows the last time I checked my Instagram like biography. Hoffenheim, I'm not answering that. You need to make the trip and find out for yourself. I'd enjoy a Persona playthrough. Yep. As always, Persona for now it's too big an undertaking. I think again I spoke to someone about it recently and they said their playthrough finished at 140 hours and yeah, as you can see with all the ongoing stuff on the channel, it's like dedicating like 200 parts to Persona. Like right now, it's just not the move for me, unfortunately. I'd rather play through a bunch of other stuff for the channel. I still 100% want to play Persona for myself someday, but even playing it for myself, I just don't want to play a game that takes that long, even for my own time. So we'll see. I think I'm just, as games get longer and longer, as you've seen on the channel too, like even, you know, games like Rebirth, and there's just been so many games that are like, it's hard to play anything that takes less than like 30-40 hours nowadays, or even around that. So just like Baldur's Gate 3 is the same story, like people regularly taking like 100 hours on it. Elden Ring, of course. Horizon Forbidden West took me a huge amount of time to play as well, and I didn't even do everything. So it's just like, I think I don't want to burn myself out too much on these giant games. So yeah, unfortunately not. Ah, Laura, you have joined us. Thank you so much. It's good to see you. Just wouldn't be the same without Laura in the chat. Damn, I'm dropping behind on the chat. Speed up. Ah, you're on duty. Okay, fair enough. That's a shame. But glad you joined us anyway. Robert Erickson, thank you so much. And yes, Dan is correct. If you're the type of person that's like, I like to put your content on in the background sometimes when I'm doing other things, I think the Elden Ring playthrough is a good one for that, because there's just so much content to just binge on. It's definitely one I'd recommend. If you've not seen it before, it's good kind of background content. So yeah, again, it's one of those things, you've got to kind of know what your strengths are and know your audience, and some people do enjoy it just not specifically paying attention to the content, just having it as like background stuff, and that's fine. So definitely a good playlist to do that with. Can we play with the no encounter speed up parameters while playing 10 on Steam? Yep, this was played on Steam, so most definitely. Is the Elden Ring story itself any good? I would say the lore of Elden Ring is awesome, but the storytelling is not for everybody, and in general, on a personal level, it's not really for me. So it doesn't have a conventional kind of storytelling style where you get invested in the main characters and that kind of thing. Like it's just different, and it may work for some and not for others. You kind of have to just try it and see. Just trying to continue catching up here. No death proof for rearing its ugly head here. Yes, that is correct. It's definitely dangerous stuff. This was a really dangerous one. I probably should have prepared better for this. This wasn't the smartest idea, but this was another one where the mod where you get to see the HP help, like tracking all of this while you're playing to make sure you can definitely take out Mindy before another Delta attack. That was pretty important. So hopefully we're going to do just about enough to finish this off here and not have to face Delta attack, because that would have been not good. Yeah, you can take out Mindy before their first turn with optimized magic weapons, double casting Ultima. Yeah, but Carithian, does that also apply if you get ambushed? So could I have done that? Let's say I had that strategy kind of prepped and ready, but I got an ambush, would it still work? See you later, Tanya. Thanks for joining us. God, I'm behind. Stephen Morrison, thank you so much. I'm glad you're watching Final Fantasy 13 playthrough. As I've said, it's one of my personal favorites. If someday there'll be a remake of Final Fantasy X, I hope Ultimate animation will remain beautiful. Me too. What about Lost Odyssey? Too long also? Maybe not. We'll see. I think again with Persona as well, it's not like you can just play one Persona and not play the others, because they're, in general, they're such a strong series. I'd feel a bit bad kind of just playing, let's say, Persona 4 or just Persona 5, and then 6 comes out and I'm like, nah guys, sorry, I'm working on other stuff. I don't want to start 6 because that's going to be another 250 episodes. So Lost Odyssey being a bit more of a one-off, I guess maybe works a bit better. So there's no shade on what I'm sure is like an incredibly good game. I have no doubt that I would really enjoy it if I did. But yeah, I mean, people talking about like Genma saying Royal was 160 hours, it's just insane. And I don't think it's like, say, Elden Ring even, where I could have edited out a lot of the content. So if it's like 150 hours, because when you LP, you tend to play through a bit more slowly than normal as well. I think it would take me about 150 to 170. And if I can't edit out most of the content because it's kind of meaningful stuff that I'm engaging with, that's literally close to, that's over 250 episodes. So I just don't think so. It's too much. Miguel, thank you for joining us. Sorry about the accident, but glad that you recovered and found the channel in the process. Hoffenheim asks, who is the best Final Fantasy party member of all time? Still Auron. Why use Ultima? Well, because there's two characters and you can do double cast, like nice damage to both of them at the same time. So generally I thought it might be a better way to damage these guys while there's two of them still. So that's why I went for that. Will you be playing God of War Ragnarok? That's already on the channel. I hope to do the extra material, but again, I've just not been able to get around to it. Yeah, Cotillion is correct. I have no idea who this Laura person is or what she's doing in my chat. Why she has a blue name and a wrench. Just infiltrated the community somehow. Yeah, I think in terms of shorter RPGs, I think I heard Sea of Stars is relatively short. That's why I was close to potentially doing that. But again, it's just been super busy. Just curious to know, are the next RPGs on channel going to be Carithian Mod, Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy Tactics? I think that's a close approximation, but I think take Tactics out of it for now, because I think Dragon Quest will come out before... it'll be basically by the time I'm done with Final Fantasy 1, I think it will basically already be time to do Dragon Quest. There won't be time to do a Tactics playthrough as well. So Tactics will happen anyway, but something along those lines I think is probably close. So I think Aaron's not quite on the money, but I'd say close enough. But don't like quote me specifically on it. It's just a general plan for now. It's very hard to map out beyond like 2 or 3 months into the future. So we'll see. But that's a pretty good one. Thank you, Alexa. Glad you've been enjoying Elden Ring. Hope you enjoy the DLC as well. Vivi is a GOAT. Definitely one of the absolute fan favorites. Mine too. A legend. Hell no, it doesn't work if you get ambushed yet. I thought so. So yeah, I still had to kind of like struggle my way through this one regardless. Parasite Eve is only around 10 to 12 hours. Yeah, that could definitely be something I bring to the channel. But I just miss, I've always said it, but I just miss that style of game. That's why I also enjoyed the Resident Evil stuff that I did in more recent years. For that one, even Resident Evil 4 Remake, it was still like 22 hours or something. That was like the upper limit, I think, for that type of content. But I really enjoy that kind of 10 to 20 hour time frame, and I miss it. There's just not enough games that come out of that length anymore. Like even third person kind of action adventure games, they're like they all want to be like 30 to 50 hours long still. It's just crazy. Vagrant Story is 2020. That's actually surprising. I would have assumed longer for Vagrant Story. I've heard of it before, but I know almost nothing about it. Neon, thanks for joining us. Glad you could be here. RPG Recusin, thanks for joining us as well. Yeah, the Dark Mag Sisters together are always difficult. If you're not prepared for it, it's definitely very difficult. I used the ultimate strategy with the break damage limit, magic 20% booster. Yeah, that's one of the best ways to take them down as a group. Did you hear about Zelda releasing on Switch in September called Echoes of Wisdom? No. Well, actually no. I've seen a few little things on it, but I haven't like watched any trailers or anything like that. It looks like it has a bit of a different style, like entirely from Breath of the Wild. I think I've seen some promo images and stuff, but it seems a whole different kind of thing. I think that's one where I'll wait to see if it's another great game, and if it is, we do have a Switch at home. We'll potentially look into it. Western RPG classic is not too long. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic is a great choice. Maybe for like personal play, but probably not for the channel. I can't imagine it being that great for the channel, possibly. You could stream longer games like that, I guess, but that's if you had the time. Yeah, I mean, I'm still, the reason I am live streaming stuff like Final Fantasy X, and maybe in the future like Final Fantasy VII and that kind of stuff, is just because I don't like streaming new games, or well, games I haven't played before. I think that's one of the secrets to why I've been doing what I've been doing for so long. I just play games the same way. Like for the channel, I play them the same way I used to always play them as a kid before I ever had a channel. And that's like the most kind of individual, kind of immersed, single player, just enjoy the game as much as I can. And so as much as I do enjoy hanging out with you guys in streams, I think for like a brand new game I've never played before, just having like a running chat where I'm trying to interact with you guys and like reading messages, potential spoilers, backseating, and just general distraction from the game is just not my kind of thing. And so I think I can't see myself live streaming games I haven't played before. Maybe on rare occasion, but I can't see it being something I do on the channel. Parasite Eve attack only sounds interesting. Yeah, I guess I got to play the game first. But if it's only 10 to 12 hours, that might be interesting. Shadow Hearts is amazing and only takes about 30-ish hours. There's just so many options, endless. So hopefully, again, that's why I'm hoping that the community kind of comes out and supports the new kind of JRPG/RPG content that we do on the channel, because that's always one of the things. Obviously, every channel tends to have the thing that they get known for the best, and even if you deviate a little bit from that, it's very difficult to kind of keep your audience across it, and you know, the numbers speak for themselves. Anytime a video doesn't have Final Fantasy in the title, it tends to be very hard to get traction on them and to give them to get the same amount of feedback from the community. So if series like, let's say, Dragon Quest are going to get supported, Legend of Dragoon, or any of these kind of JRPG type things, then it's like, okay, then we can kind of do more of this. And so let's say previously, I don't know, 20% of the channel content was non-Final Fantasy and 80% was Final Fantasy. We can shift that to like 30%, 40%, 50%. And so that's how I try to find the balance, but ultimately it kind of comes down to you guys. I'm always going to be playing non-Final Fantasy stuff on the channel. I always have, always will. But the kind of percentage of my overall content it makes up will be dependent basically on how supported it is. That's just how it works. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Dragon Quest III should be a good test. Always nice to see Sentinel being put to use. Sentinel is such an amazing ability that I just had completely no clue was so good in my early playthroughs. Feel you over long games. I play so many less games these days because everything is 100+ hours and I'm too busy. Yeah, I mean, especially for me, even though obviously a big part of my job is playing the games, because I have to do all of the work afterwards to bring them to the channel, and I don't want to deviate from that. I enjoy presenting the playthroughs the way that I do. And so if I start to say, well, one way to play more of the games is to basically not bother editing anything and just doing like these raw kind of chopped up sessions, for me it takes too much away from the content, and so I wouldn't want to do it. And so yeah, it's not something I can do. I can't keep up. Square really needs to give Dan's Way a voice actor role in a future Final Fantasy sequel, maybe Final Fantasy. Yeah, we've talked about this quite a lot. I mean, it'd be obviously an incredible opportunity, and to be fair, there's no better time for that kind of thing. I mean, a lot of people that I followed, like in the gaming community, that have grown like their own audiences and their own brands and stuff, I've started to see a lot more of, hey, like I'm happy to announce that I'm going to be voicing this character. And a lot of these guys are not kind of professional voice actors. They might have obviously been working on it and they're training and they want to have a career in voice acting too, but I do think a lot of the reason they're getting opportunities is because of the reputation they built up online, and they have an aptitude for like some kind of voice work and stuff. And so obviously if you become a prominent member in a community and a game is being made, there's a bigger chance that you might have a little bit of leverage to try and get yourself included in something like that. So yeah, who knows? But I think in terms of Final Fantasy, that would never happen, I think, for me, unless I had... I think I would have to properly train as a voice actor. I'd have to have my own reel. I'd probably have to have some kind of agent, some kind of recommendation. I don't think I can just purely, you know, just be like, oh, just because I'm popular in the Final Fantasy micro Dan's Go 8 community, that I would be able to get any kind of voice role. It just wouldn't work. So it would take a lot more than that. Anyone else see the Spiffing Brits video on the YouTube algorithm? Basically, series decline in views and long form tend to do better. Yeah, that's definitely the case. I mean, you don't have to look very far. Look at any series I've ever put on YouTube. There's basically kind of percentages that go with it. Like, let's say episode 1 to 2 is like usually a 50 to 70% drop off, and then from 2 to 3 is another 20-30%, and then you find the bottom where, like, let's say your episode 1 gets 10,000 views, and by episode 15 to 20 you get down to like the bottom, which maybe is 1,000, and then if you upload like 300 parts, you'll probably stick around like 800 to 1,200. It'll bounce around there. And then that's why, like, if you have a series that dips to, like, let's say 500, the longer that series goes, the more time you're quote-unquote wasting, if you look at it purely objectively as a content creator, versus a series that could have got 1,000 instead. And over time that kind of adds up. And so yeah, 100%. Long series always do worse. That's just how it is. Lost Odyssey was that the one done by like Sakaguchi and stuff? Was that a game done after he left Square Enix? I think that's what I remember. Have you ever played the GTA series or Red Dead Redemption? Yeah, I played the GTA series. I played GTA 3 before I ever played Final Fantasy X. I was a big fan of GTA 3. Then I played Vice City. I skipped San Andreas for many years, and then I caught that up on Steam Deck. I was always curious about San Andreas, so I actually played it on the Steam Deck like 2 years ago. Played GTA 4, and I played GTA 5 on the Steam Deck as well. So GTA is one of those series that I never brought to the channel and just enjoyed it myself. But yeah, I played it. Red Dead Redemption, no. I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing here. I think again I'm taking note of all the HPs and stuff and trying to prepare it for penance so that I come in with the same HP. So let me skip this forward a little. Yeah. So that hopefully the HPs that you saw at the end of the Dark Magus Sisters fight, it should be the same ones when this fight begins. So same lineup. Let's see. Yeah. So there you go. So I'll let this one just play in the background. This is obviously the final fight of the challenge, and hopefully we'll get through this one as well and complete the run. Let's see, where are we at? Octopath Traveler would be a cozy game. I was actually pretty close to trying Octopath 2. I've heard 2 is better than the first. I was potentially going to get it, but again, Octopath 2 I believe is quite a long game. It's more like 60 hours. I'm just like, no, like not another 60-hour game. You could get an editor. Yeah, that would be nice. I can't afford an editor, plain and simple. And I don't want to do like, oh, like, you know, here's like, you know, a fan of the channel that also happens to be an editor. Hey, I can edit stuff for you. I don't want to go down that road of trying to get people to work for nothing or to work for free for the channel and stuff. I just don't want to do that. So no, like, that's not going to happen anytime soon. How do you get early access to games? That's very difficult to do. I almost never achieve it. Even with Square Enix, sometimes it just doesn't work. But yes, you kind of need to do your research and find the PR managers and representatives. Some people have, like, some companies, sorry, have community managers, and there's people whose jobs it is to kind of allocate review codes and that kind of thing, and you have to get in touch with them and try to kind of pitch your channel as one that they can send a review code to. But a huge majority of the time, unless you're a really big shot channel, it's very hard to get any kind of early access. So even for my channel, like let's say Elden Ring, I didn't get any early access. Shadow of the Erdtree, I got completely ignored. Part 1 of Elden Ring has like 21,000 views, which for my channel is pretty good, I would say, for a part 1. But completely like just ignored. So yeah, I think you have to be operating at a pretty high level to get that kind of stuff. I'm going to turn the game audio down a little bit. I think it's a little bit loud for the penance fight. Okay. The streamer cameos in Cyberpunk 2077 were exactly that. Yeah, so that's basically the way. You might be able to get a little cameo type thing if you're truly a prominent figure, and they have like an astute enough person working on the games to kind of realize that there's a bit of a PR opportunity here, where you'd get like the top 5 or 10 Final Fantasy names like on the internet to have a cameo in the game. Obviously, if you're going to have a cameo in the game, even if you're a fan or not, you are going to be sharing that, you're going to be talking about it, you're going to be excited about it, your followers will be excited about it, so it's going to raise hype naturally. So yeah, I mean, that's basically the only way. But yeah, it would be insane. But I don't think I've heard of Final Fantasy ever doing that before. Because I mean, there's people like Maximilian Dude who has like, I don't know, 2 million subscribers or something. He's obviously absolutely huge, amazing kind of streamer, content creator, a truly giant name in the Final Fantasy community. And he's kind of more of the Final Fantasy 7 guy, and I'm sure he's more than capable of throwing in a few voice lines for like cameo work. And I don't think I've ever heard of him getting any kind of cameo in like even like a MOBA like Ever Crisis or something like that. If I'm wrong, you can correct me, but I don't believe even someone of his stature, I don't think I've ever heard of him getting like a Final Fantasy cameo VA role. So I just unfortunately I don't think it works. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe it changes in the future, but yeah. I'm only one person, but trying to watch all your players over time. They're fantastic when working on a long project. I'm glad you make them, even if they're less value. I appreciate that, thank you. And yeah, of course, for me, that's like a principle I try not to budge on. I try to not let myself be forced into the box of like only making Final Fantasy content. I never have, and I'm hoping that I never will. Thoughts on Black Myth Wukong? I don't have any. It's not really on my radar right now. There's just so much other stuff going on, like a lot of the games we've already talked about in the stream. I don't have any thoughts on it at the moment. Short of getting a surprise Judgment Day in your face, this should be in the bag. I mean, it should be, yes. I mean, to be fair, it's been a very long time since I fought like regular penance with a max HP party. As I say, I've always done like the most efficient like quad 9 HP method, but in general, yes, I think it should be okay. It will take a long time because I want to make sure I do it right and not screw up right at the end, but hopefully this should be in the bag. I remember persuading my mum to buy me GTA San Andreas when I was young, telling her it was a very chilled game. Had the best time ever playing it. Yeah, I played GTA 3 when I was like 11 or something. Maybe shouldn't have been, but I mean, I don't know. It was okay in the end, you know. I'm not going to get into that whole debate. This isn't the vibe and the time for that. But yeah, I know that feeling. Pear, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships. Wow, a lot of new members. Enjoy your memberships, my friends, including Scribble Bear. Well done for getting another one. Kekoa, thank you for the donation. Appreciate it. Almost catching up to the chat now. He'd be a good voice actor for like Machen or some sort of sage-like character. Yeah, I don't think Machen specifically, I've always said it, I think his voice is too kind of old man voice. I'm not one of these that I'm not like, I don't know, John DiMaggio or James Arnold Taylor that can do all these different voices, so I don't think I can sound like an old man. Not Machen's age, I don't think I sound that young anyway, but sounding like literally a 1,000-year-old Unsen guy, like I'm not sure about that. Might be a stretch too much. If the remake's in like 20 years and my voice has maybe got a little bit of more of an old man feel to it, maybe. I can't roll my R's either, so I can't even do the tremble properly. I tremble every time I see them. But yeah, thanks again, Pear. Appreciate the gifts. We were just talking about another Scribble Bear missing out. What are the odds? Yeah, I'm glad that they managed to get one. I saw in Germany that a girl YouTuber got a voice acting role in a Garfield film. That's huge. And with this stuff, you always kind of have to be a bit careful because I don't want to kind of assume that people got a role just because they were popular. There's a lot of people that are legitimate voice actors, like they have a voice acting reel, they work on it. They're trying to kind of officially have a career in that field. So I don't want to kind of diminish the fact that they have a role and say that, oh, they're just popular so they got a role. So have to be a bit careful. I don't know like a lot of people's history and that kind of thing. But yeah, F's in the chat for the Turkish football team. Yeah. Yani ben bunu tahmin ediyordum. Bir önceki maçtan aslında aldık o maçı güzel bir şekilde ama biraz şanslıydık bence. Bu maçta çok fazla bir beklentim yoktu. O yüzden açıkçası çok şaşırmadım. Portekiz çok iyi bir takım. Çok emin değildim yani yeneceğimizden. Bence beklediğim şey oldu. And that should hopefully answer the next question, which is, can you speak Turkish? Yes, I can. I was born and raised to a Turkish household, so even though I was in London, my mum came over when she was 19, 20 years old, and she didn't speak a word of English, and so when I was born, Turkish is the only language that was spoken in my household, so I learned English and Turkish together at the same time. So yeah. But yeah, they are basically what I said. For anyone curious, I was just randomly commenting on the football, just saying that like the first game that we won, I think we were a little bit lucky. We had like 2 crazy goals, so I think that made us look a bit better than we were, and I was kind of expecting that we wouldn't do so well in this match, and so it didn't really surprise me that we're losing this game. Portugal's a very strong team, and so yeah. Hopefully from the final game of the group we'll still manage to make it through, but I didn't have particularly high expectations for this one. Berk speaks Turkish. With the occasional smattering, no. Yes, I do love to mimic the northern accent now and then. Cotillion, thank you so much for the donation. Glad you could come out and hang out with us a little bit for this special stream. Thank you. Why don't you throw a grenade for the final kill on the arms, technically hit both the arms into... Yeah, that probably would have worked well. If they have enough HP to take down in one hit, you could. But I think quick hit, is it a little quicker? If the 2 arms at the same time are down to that level of HP, then yeah, you should throw a grenade or some kind of item. It'd be better. My biggest achievement in this game is Mark of Conquest, but with all the guys it was not very hard. Yeah, that's one of the things that I always struggle with in this game. Is like on the one hand it's very hard, but on the one hand, if you do have the guides, obviously it becomes pretty trivial, and so then you have to ask the question, is it hard or is it not? Like it's easy to make it look easy, but if you're going in completely blind, figuring out these bosses by yourself and obviously not having max stats and stuff, then it's very hard. So it's both at the same time. Miss Bradica, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. It's been a very busy membership gifting day today. Thank you all so much for the support. Appreciate that. I see you haven't shaken the habit of killing the arms way too early instead of waiting right until the... Yeah, penance as a fight, I don't do that often, honestly. I never really learned like the optimal... Speaking of guides, like I never really looked up the optimal way. Basically, I think I remember back in the day looking up the armor that was like the best for it with quad 9 HP, and they're like, just make this armor and then you'll be fine. And then I just ran with that. I didn't really, you know, specify exactly what way to do it, but I think there is... Don't look at this penance fight as like the best way to fight penance. This is just to complete the challenge. So I'm definitely not a penance expert. But Carithian might be able to explain better why, because above he says, you haven't shaken the habit of killing the arms way too early instead of waiting until right before their turn. This will take a while. So I think he's a good person to explain why that's a better way to do it. Yeah, the English setting is back on. Have you heard of the Yakuza series? Definitely have. It's one I think I've asked around a lot for which one to start with. I think was it Yakuza 7 that had like a interesting like kind of almost turn-based action system. So yeah, it's another one of those, like I'd love to play it someday, but I've never had the chance to. Yes, indeed, we're still going. But I think this one is one that I will kind of speed up towards the end because, as Carithian is probably going to explain, I'm kind of not doing this the right way, the quickest way. So it's going to take a bit longer than it should. So depending on how things are going, I might kind of wrap it up a little earlier. Because from here, basically, once you get into the immolation phase, I'll show you guys kind of the start of that, and then it's basically kind of rinse and repeat for like another hour. So yeah, we'll see. It's a game where the challenge is the setup and strategy more than the execution. Agreed. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And that's why it's like, I try to, on the one hand, you don't want to urge people to use guides too much, because it's like, for me at least, that's always part of the fun, figuring it out, and I always talk about that. But you have to just think, like, not everyone enjoys games the same way that you do, and so obviously, you know, the amount of people that have used my Final Fantasy X playthrough for their own playthroughs, it's definitely necessary, and if that's what it needs for you to be able to complete the game and enjoy it, that's great. But yeah, for me at least, the magic of these fights is always generally kind of figuring out what to do yourself. But back in the day, I hadn't found my challenge identity, so like when I first played Final Fantasy X and completed it, and I was having my first run against like the Dark Aeons and that kind of thing, I didn't have any kind of philosophy about challenges or how to approach them or anything like that, so I did look up stuff and like see, like I did watch videos of people beating Dark Aeons and that kind of thing. But nowadays, I'm very much like, I try to not see strategies and how people did things and just come up with things my own way, for better or worse. Pro tip about language, teach your kids young. I totally agree. It's the best way to do it. I think for me, the worst one I tend to hear is when, let's say you live somewhere like England, and you're from like a family that speaks a different language, and a kid is born, like comes into family, and you say, I'm worried that this kid is not going to be able to learn English properly, like they're going to struggle when they're at school if we just teach them our home language, so we're going to make sure they learn English properly and not teach our home language to them first. And I think that's, personally, I think that's a big mistake. Your kid like will learn the local language anyway, like through the, you know, nursery, preschool systems, and like obviously the early school system. So I think it's a mistake. And then basically if they don't learn that kind of mother tongue early enough, it becomes difficult / impossible later on. So I generally agree, like try your best if you're ever in that situation to teach them when they're kids, and don't be afraid that they're going to struggle with the native language. If you plan to actually live there long term, like the kid is born in that country, and you plan for them to grow up there, like it's going to be fine. Just let them kind of learn the language. Obviously you're still going to speak it at home anyway, I'm sure, but don't like neglect your mother tongue, I would say, if you have the chance. Learning new languages as an adult sucks. Yes, of course. I'm trying to get better at German. My girlfriend is from Germany, and it's a struggle, man. Like when life is so busy as an adult, like dedicating real time to learning it. And for me as well, obviously I don't live there. When you don't live in the nation of the language as well, that makes it an extra layer of difficulty. So if you're an adult and you don't live in that country, trying to learn another language is like a flippin', like it's almost impossible. Like truly learn it, like become fluent. It's very hard. Do you have a favorite team in Turkey? Yes, I'm a Fenerbahce fan. Always have been, but if I'm being honest, I haven't been following Turkish football, like club football, very closely for quite some time. I've kind of fallen out of love. I just don't have as much time to watch and follow football as much as I used to. So I try to keep up with Arsenal in the Premier League. And like Champions League and stuff as much as I can. I'm struggling with the fourth language I'm speaking, German. Boo-hoo, fourth language, wow. Yeah, some of us kind of natively are lucky enough to know 2, but even learning a 3rd is almost impossible. And then there's people that are struggling on their 4th. There's levels to this game. Moonstar's a Galatasaray fan. Okay, time to ban. Unacceptable. The arms come back after a fixed amount of delay after you kill them, so if you wait until just before their turn to kill them, that's 3 extra turns to attack penance on. So yeah, there you go. Karifian breaks it down for us. That's definitely important knowledge. If you want to waste... It would probably be like, if it takes you, I don't know, an hour and 20 minutes using this method, it would probably take you like 50 minutes if you do it the right way. And if you go on ×2, that's like 20 minutes, probably 20, 25 minutes. So yeah, don't do it the way that I've done it. This is not a good example. Yeah, for Yakuza 7, I did hear a couple of people say to me, hey, like that's an example of how you can still have turn-based stuff that still works even with a more action style of gameplay. So who knows, maybe some tips can be taken from that for future Final Fantasy games. Yeah, that's tough. So like, yeah, my wife speaks to me in Mandarin sometimes. I try to speak back. My friends used to laugh at me. Some of it. Yeah, it's very hard. Like the confidence needed as an adult to speak a language that you have like very little knowledge about, or even if you have like a beginner level, you're going to say wrong things all the time. Your accent's going to sound off, and you don't want to be that person that sounds like a child, basically like a small kid when you speak that language. And so I think overcoming that fear and that insecurity is, I haven't personally managed to do it very much. And so I totally get it. It's very difficult. So yeah, that's another reason why learning as an adult is hard. As a kid, as a little kid, you just don't know any better. You'll just speak as much as you can and you don't care. But as an adult, it's just like sounding wrong. Being corrected constantly, I think, is also very tough. As an adult, you're not used to that happening to you all the time. But like, for example, with German, let's say, if I try to have a very basic conversation in German, or like, you know, I say like 10 different phrases back to back, I'd probably say like 8 of them wrong in some way. And so I'd be corrected every single time. And it's just like, it gets exhausting to try and communicate when you're being corrected all the time. But they're correcting you because they're trying to help you. And so it creates this very difficult situation when you're trying to obviously get better at the language. So yeah, all of that stuff is incredibly tough. And getting the practice in when you don't live in a nation that speaks that language is also much harder. I also grew up with 2 languages at home, in German and Portuguese. That's a cool combination. And well, you also clearly have good English too, so that's a really nice trio of languages there. And yes, Carithian making a cheeky plug for his mod. Greatest Danzaway challenge, no attack risks. I need to scroll up a bit again. So now and then the chat kind of snaps back to what's being said most recently. Singapore is awesome. I agree. I was lucky enough to spend a weekend there in 2019, late 2019. Amazing. I shared a couple of posts on social media. I said this is the place that to me looks currently the closest to kind of Dream Xanacan vibes. It's just got this really cool vibe there. It's awesome. But the humidity is horrible. That's the one thing I really struggled with. It was like, I think I went in the last week of November and it was like 30 every single day and the humidity was like 1,000,000,000 and I was literally just sweating all the time. I just gave up after a while. I just resigned my life to just constantly just leaking sweat all the time. That wasn't pleasant, but like the place itself is pretty awesome. And yeah, we definitely have a pretty big German community. I think I've mentioned this a few times before, but I think after the US and the UK, Germany is the biggest viewership of the channel. Obviously, it's a big country, and it's, from what I've seen, the time I've spent in Germany, it's a quote-unquote nerdy nation. I think there's a lot of Germans that enjoy their gaming, enjoy like their anime, enjoy their board games, enjoy like their reading, that kind of stuff. And so yeah, there's a big German community here on the Danzaway channel too. How's your German? You see, so that's what I was talking about earlier. I'm not going to speak any German on the stream. It's just not, no. I'm too insecure about that. I'd rather say "Rides der Schulpuff" with a stupid voice than speak any German at the moment. 2 languages is enough for the streams. If I ever get really good, then yes, but it's looking increasingly unlikely I'll ever be really good. I want to get good enough that when I'm around native Germans, I can follow conversations. And in the worst way, like almost all of the Germans I've met through my girlfriend, they all speak some level of English. So it'd be nice to kind of follow their conversations and, worst case, just reply in English. And so they don't have to switch to English for me while I'm there. That's realistically where I want to get to. But in terms of like just speaking fluently and having like, you know, these long conversations with native Germans, I think it's probably out of reach, but I would like to continue to improve. So yeah, sorry to the German viewers. Do programming languages count? That's fair. How many programming languages would you say you actually like truly know? Yeah, a lot of language talk, but I think that's one of the topics that's always fun to discuss because there are so many different walks of life here. Is fleeing banned in this challenge? Yeah, it is. But yeah, basically, as you're seeing, I did end up getting through the entire challenge without losing anybody, which I think was actually pretty cool. I thought at least for Anima, someone was going to die, and then maybe for the Mega Sisters, but managed to get it through. In which language do you talk to your girlfriend? And I wonder. Well, we speak in English. Her English is incredibly good. She doesn't have that much of an accent either. I don't know how that happened. She was born and raised in Germany. Her friends always say, like, how is it that you don't have like that strong a German accent? But that's just how it is for her, I guess. So we communicate in English. She's trying to learn some Turkish too. Obviously, we've kind of tried to go on the journey together. She's trying to learn Turkish so that she can understand my family better. Because I do have a lot of family, especially the ones that live in Turkey. They don't speak any English, basically. Almost all of her family speaks, and her close friends speak speak English and speak it pretty well. So for me, it's a bit easier. I'm fortunate. But for her, at least, when she does come to Turkey with me to see like family and stuff there, it's very hard for her to communicate. We basically have to kind of translate everything to chat. So it's definitely tough. So Smaran, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Good to see you here. Looks like Birch is eating some popcorn. Yeah, we haven't seen Birch and Hagen in the stream yet, but with the badge, I guess he's kind of here in spirit. That's just Southeast Asia weather. Yeah, that's the one thing. That's the one reason I don't think I could actually live in Southeast Asia. Like I can't handle the heat. It's too much for me. I run hot and I sweat a lot. And it's just a bad combination for living somewhere like Southeast Asia. What's your take on the Dark Aeons and penance to the story? I don't really have a take. Obviously, it's kind of once you become known as kind of traitors to Yevon and the temples and stuff, that's when they kind of unleash them on you. It would have been nice if it wasn't as much of an addition like afterwards. I don't know how much of a retroactive decision it was or how much of it was already designed and in the works, but they just couldn't finish it in time for the North American / first original Japanese release. That I don't have an answer for. I would have liked it to have been more kind of baked into the story, so after a certain story point, they kind of let you know more kind of overtly that you're now an enemy of Yevon, and that you need to watch out because, like, Father Zook kind of talks about it, but if he had an extra line or two that maybe mentioned, like, you know, they've sent incredibly powerful, you know, entities to try and stop your journey or whatever it might be, then it would have been nice to have some extra context for that. But as it stands, I never think too much about the story of the Dark Aeons and penance. Are we close to the end? Yes, we are. We're about half an hour or so. If I just let everything play normally, I think we're about half an hour away. And that's just about the maximum I wanted to stream anyway, about 3.5 hours or so. So we're getting close. As long as you're not trying a German tongue breaker on live stream, you should be fine. Yeah, I watched the Barbara video. I'm sure every German listening will know what I just talked about there. But yes, I have seen that stuff. It's ridiculous. The compound nouns and stuff in German, they're insane. Yeah, but the food scene in Southeast Asia is incredible. Like I was blown away. I always thought Turks liked their food and their eating and stuff, but I think like Southeast Asia was potentially like another level. It really was. Fluent in Python, but I've written in Perl, JavaScript, C, C++. There you go. So Real Deal might know the most languages of all of us. Swiss German is the best German, shots fired. I've heard like the Austrians have their own, obviously, kind of take on it, and the Germans tend to find it quite amusing. I don't know. I try not to get too controversial here. But do you plan on improving your German? Yeah, I do. I'm actively kind of trying to, but it's just, as I've already talked about, it's just such a long process that the level I'm talking about, where I can hopefully follow along like native conversations without constantly needing to ask what's being said or need translations and all that stuff, it would probably take years. I heard there's a heat wave in the UK, a heat wave of 26 Celsius. Yeah, it's interesting you should say that. I'm not going to get into that whole debate thing. I've given up trying to explain that whole situation properly and arguing with people about it. Luckily for me, it wasn't like 26 over here. I think it got to like 22, 23, which is absolutely perfect for me. Like 20 to 23 is like my ideal temperature. If it was that temperature every single day, life would be perfect. But I brought like a little temperature sensor for like my main living room slash like work area office, and it was 26.1 degrees like inside. So the air temperature was colder, but inside obviously I've got like the PC running. It's indoors and that kind of thing. And I have these like big French doors that open out into like outside, and I left those open. And I think outside it was about 5 degrees cooler than it was inside, and I left those doors open like all day, and I had a fan going trying to push air out of the room as well to kind of exhaust out the hot air. And I think in like 7-8 hours it went down by like 1 degree, 1.5 degree. And the general argument that people from the UK have about this whole thing, when people kind of take the piss out of it being like 26 degrees and people in the UK cry about it, the main response is that UK houses are built to retain heat. And that's an example of like, yeah, like the other day when it went like that. It's hard to get heat out of these houses when they come in. And so what's important is kind of the internal temperature of the room. So, you know, depending on where you live, it could be like 35, 40 outside. But if you have AC, or honestly, depending on what kind of building you have, if you had like windows open or the right kind of airflow, it's probably still like 25 inside or 23 inside or whatever. But here, if it's like 26, 27 outside, it's like it's like 30 inside with like body heat, electronics going, and it's just like if you don't have a good, like if you don't have an AC system, which a lot of UK people don't have because it hasn't been getting this hot, you know, for a while, it's just not a good combination. So for me at least, it's rough because I have to close all of my doors when I'm recording so that, you know, all of the neighbors and stuff don't hear me shouting, screaming, playing Elden Ring and stuff. So the room gets to like 27, 28 like degrees Celsius, like inside temperature, and that's not a fun temperature to be sitting in for most people, I think. So that's my little thing about the quote-unquote heat waves of the UK. Which Sid is your favorite in all the Final Fantasies? I still think 16 for now. Someone said the Sid of Final Fantasy Tactics is the best one, but I can't comment on that. Come to Scotland, barely hit, but then Scotland's too cold, like, and it's just there's not enough sunshine. The perfect like weather doesn't exist for me. I kind of want it to only rain after I've gone to sleep, dry again by the time I wake up. Then it's like kind of like cloudy sunny, not pure blue skies, but cloudy sunny, and 20 to 23 degrees every day. Like that's what I want. That'd be nice. And then like night temperatures like 15 degrees. Give me that every day. Yeah, so the Germans are doing the whole rabarbara thing. Basically, the whole joke about that thing is, so you see like Tatzelworm, if you scroll up a bit, well, I need to scroll up a bit, but the whole like rabarbara thing, like that whole thing is a real word. Like you can really do that in German, and it still makes sense. You can just keep adding like compound like words to certain words, and it still makes sense as a line. Very weird. Turkish has that to some extent too, but Germans are on another level. Are houses in the UK built like those in the US with a drywall? No. Like, at least maybe newer builds are nowadays, like new apartment blocks or new houses and stuff, but like, for example, the one I live in, it's all like hardcore brick. So it just holds the heat. It's good in the winter, but yeah, you'd be surprised when you explain it like that. People are like, yeah, like I get it. Once you explain it like that, it makes sense. But the amount of people I've seen that just do not get it. Like, it doesn't matter how you explain it, how many times you do, they're just still like, they say, oh, we'll do this then, or do that then, or I still don't get it, or it's ridiculous. Like, a few years ago, I think I decided I'm never going to post an Instagram story that shows a temperature ever again. I just can't deal with people like responding to like, oh my god, here it's like, it's 55,000 degrees here, like, it's fine. No, I had enough. But yeah, I thought I'd at least explain it a little bit. But yeah, there are some places with some drywall internals, but a lot of like houses are still from like the 1920s, 1930s. So the house I grew up in, that my parents still live in, that's from like 1927 or something. The place I live in now is like a flat, like a building that got converted into a flat. It's from like the 1930s or something again. So these are all like proper hardcore brick. I have a few like partition walls that are drywall, but most of the significant walls of the house are brick. In the Netherlands, it's pretty similar, and because there's bodies of water everywhere and the frequent rain, the humidity is through the roof. Yeah, I'm not even talking about things like humidity or whatever. Like, it's more about, for me at least, the reason it gets so uncomfortable is because because when you're indoors, it's just so uncomfortable. Like, it's if you don't have a system set up for it and it gets above like 26, 27 air temperature, unless you have AC, it's just really uncomfortable. The Rhabarber sketch originally is from an old TV comedy. Don't know why it's such a thing nowadays. The original's about 20 years old. You know how it is. Things always make a like things that were once a hit tend to kind of come back later on. Any more of 7 Rebirth getting posted? I think today we're having a day off on Rebirth. I already uploaded a part of Elden Ring DLC. I uploaded Final Fantasy IX Attack 2, and now we've had like a 3.5-hour live stream that's going to be left on there. I think we just need to chill for the rest of today. And tomorrow we will continue full speed ahead. So just for today, you're going to have to give me a break. I find the Discourse fascinating because it feels cool in my room, but it's apparently 25 degrees. How warm is it now? It's 26.1. in my room right now, and today, what's the air temperature? Let's see. It is 21 degrees, so inside it's 5 degrees hotter than it is outside at the moment. So imagine if outside it was 27 degrees, in here we'd be pushing like 28, 30 at least, so I think that's the trouble here. I'm sure if I open the door I'd get it 1 or 2 degrees lower, but it's just very hard to exhaust heat. And yeah, of course, I mean, if you grow up in a warm climate anyway, I think generationally, you don't get used to the heat. That's one thing they told me when I moved to Turkey. They're like, oh, like, you know, the reason you sweat so much and the reason you find it so hot is because obviously you're born and raised in the UK. Don't worry, you'll get used to the heat here. I lived there for 5 years and nothing changed. I think that's a bit of a myth. I don't think it happens over the course of 5 years. Maybe like, you know, over a lifetime or generationally, maybe you start to get a few little adaptations that make you better suited to the heat. But if you're just some guy that has like a certain level of tolerance for heat and you just move to a hot nation, I don't think you suddenly become like tolerant to that heat, and then when you come back to the other place, suddenly you have this transformed physiology that makes you comfortable now. I don't believe in that personally, just on my own personal experience though. Yeah, I would love to have an AC in my living room, but like I don't want a portable one because you have to deal with like creating a place for like the hose to exhaust the air out, and that means you have to open like a window or a door partially, and when I'm recording that kind of just doesn't work. And so yeah, I would need like a proper AC system, and they're expensive. I can't afford to install a proper AC system right now, so it would be nice for the future, but not yet. And well, portable ACs, most of them are pretty loud too, so when you're recording you don't want a loud AC that's like 2 meters away. Yeah, 27.1 C. I mean that's got to feel warm, man. Like at 26, I'm already like at my limit. Is it true that cats are everywhere in Turkey? It is absolutely true. It's absolutely true. Cats are like, you know, there's millions and millions of them. So if you do enjoy like seeing cats and like potentially petting cats and stuff, it's because they're so used to humans, the ones in the big cities of course, like a lot of them are more than happy to kind of come up to you and like you can pet them and stuff. So yeah, if you're a cat lover and you want to kind of explore the city and see lots of cute cats and interact with them, then definitely Turkey is the place to be. I find Florida heat so much nicer than here in the UK when I'm over there. Yeah, I think unfortunately for me, Istanbul heat is fairly similar to London heat. And so Istanbul tends to be like anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees C warmer than the UK for the summertime. But there it's also, the humidity is high and the city is just dense, and like there's bodies of water around, all of that kind of stuff. And so it's just not ideal. It's also pretty rough in Istanbul. The nighttime temperatures are really bad as well. So yeah, there's parts of Turkey that are much better for heat, with like lower humidity and stuff, more inland, but Istanbul is not good. But yeah, we're getting close to the end here. I'd say 10 to 15 minutes tops. That's actually pretty funny. Desmond says, common misconception about those who come to Malaysia. People always think it's sunny here just because it's humid. They forget it's a tropical country that rains all the time. So when I was going to go to Singapore in 2019, I was just looking at the weather app ahead of time. And what I saw was that every single day, like across the entire week, it just showed a cloud, like a sun poking out of the cloud and thunder. And I sent the picture to my friend from Hong Kong who I was going to go to Singapore with. And I was like, dude, like, you know, this weather, like, it seems a bit, you know, like the thunderstorms and stuff every day. And he just laughed and he said, like, you know, it's that kind of weather, man. It's like, it changes, like, all the time. It rains. There's, like, you know, thunderstorms can happen all the time. Like, there's no such thing of, like, you know, oh, it's just sunny all the time or it's sunny every day and stuff. So it's pretty funny. It's just like, that's just the weather, man. And so when I was there, like, I definitely got to see it firsthand. It's pretty, like, turbulent weather, I have to say. When it rains in Singapore. Oh my god. I have no clothes on. Thank you for the information. Yeah, today was a shorts day. I did go out earlier in the day. It was literally the first day this year that I wore shorts. I've been basically indoors for most of the week, so I hadn't had the chance to really go out, but earlier in the day we went out a bit. And so I thought it's finally time to break out the shorts. Apart from the good and nice food in Turkey, I unfortunately don't have enough hands to pet all the cats. Yeah, that made me think of the Gilgamesh meme. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but it's just Gilgamesh like using all of his hands to pet cats. In before, the real twist is that you die at the end and didn't actually win. That sounds like something Rule would say. South America was the most hot rain I've ever felt. 50 C and constant storms was quite eye-opening. That sounds horrible. It gets worse during the monsoon season. When is monsoon season? I went in... Yeah, it was the last week of November when I went. I don't know when monsoon season specifically is. Hey Ross, welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining us and for being a part of those 200,000. And yes, indeed, if there is anyone still watching who hasn't hit the like button yet, I think at this stage we deserve a like for this stream. Making it this far in the challenge. Damn, I think Rule's being kind today because it's a 200k celebration stream. Not like his usual self. Maybe the heat's finally getting to him as well. Okay, I've officially finally caught up to the chat. It's taken a while, but I made it. I'm not sure how much I recorded after the win. Like right now, in terms of literally how long this video is, it's another 20 minutes. But I'm sure I left some idle time at the end to just kind of do an outro and just like say goodbye. So it can't be more than about 15 minutes, I think. I hope you weren't watching the Turkey versus Portugal game. I was. It was on the TV, like on the side, so I was glancing at it. But we went 2-0 down so quickly that I kind of lost interest. So yeah, it wasn't our best, but as I said earlier, in both Turkish and English, I predicted that would happen anyway. And so it was mostly to do with the final game. I think the other game was a draw, so I think that's favourable for us. So I think all we need to do is draw the final game to guarantee that we go through, I believe. So I think we're still okay. Penance stops being fun about halfway through. Yeah, I think that's why I don't... Like, Penance is very hard, but I don't think he's the best battle. He's another one of those examples of just because a battle's hard and it's a grind, like it takes a long time to win, even if you're prepared, it's not necessarily like a great fight. And so, yeah, I think it's got too much HP to not be more of a dynamic fight. If you're giving something 12 million HP, I think, like, for example, you had the phase transition from the obliteration phase down to immolation. Then I think like every 3 million you should have got a new phase to keep it fresh and dynamic. Like having to do the same thing over and over for 9 millions worth of damage I think was too much. Either just give Penance less HP, give him like 8 million or 10 million instead to just make it a bit shorter. Or maybe make him a bit more dynamic. So yeah, I think Penance, they kind of overdid it with the 12 million plus the immolation phase. What's your favorite Final Fantasy Super Boss? I think I still have to say the judges, like collectively. I still think that was my favorite one. Just like the sheer kind of, again, they obviously, it's so much more of a dynamic fight because you have five, like I think it was 5 of them, 4 or 5 of them. And they all have their own abilities and they bring something unique to the table. And trying to figure out a way to kind of systematically dispatch them was really interesting. And so I still think the judges were probably one of the best, probably the best Super Boss experience that I had personally. To be fair, it's kind of funny because I've only ever beaten them once. Just basically when I was doing the playthrough, I went to obviously beat them and finish the playlist. And so yeah, I've only ever beaten them once, but like that was a really great fight. Like the what was it? Oh shit! What was the name of the Esper in 12 that I had a hard time against? The one that uses Darkja. I think you guys remember which one I'm talking about. I forgot the name. Yeah, slipped my mind. Zodiac. Wait, was it Zodiac? I think it was Zodiac. Yes. Yeah, so I really liked that fight as well. That was really cool. Like, it was an annoying fight. It was quite brutal, but I had a really fun time against that one. Yeah, so yeah, Final Fantasy 12 had an amazing post game. I always say like it's one of the best like post games of any Final Fantasy. Like side quests, post game world. Like Final Fantasy 12 really shines with that stuff, and that's why it was nice to play Zodiac Age as well, especially. It wasn't Zalera. I think pretty sure Zodiac was the one we were talking about. I actually quite enjoyed fighting the Final Fantasy 13 super bosses. They were a lot of fun. I've always said it, I think the 13 battle system shines the most when you fight really difficult bosses, where you really have to plan your paradigms correctly and switch paradigms with good timing and all that kind of stuff. So I think the 13 like the hardest fights were really good. So I always think that's an underrated aspect of the game. Like for a lot of the easier stuff and like the medium level stuff, it's pretty pedestrian and like maybe a bit boring. But any battle you can't kind of just auto battle your way through, and you have to actually put some time and dedication into planning out how to set up your paradigms and switch between them at the right time. I think that's really good. I think the Penance Extreme Challenge is actually the most fun non-modded super boss fight for me. Yeah, okay, I think that's fair. It does make it a better fight. I do think that's true. But yeah, I think 13 super bosses are generally a bit underrated. I think they're good. I think I liked Emerald Weapon as well, maybe more than Ruby. Ruby felt a bit too kind of like you had to find something very specific to beat it kind of thing. Materia, I think, not Materia, Emerald, I think I liked a little more. Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I thought this was going to be one I'm going to have to spend like a few days recording, I kind of just like one evening I think I literally recorded this the night I came back from Germany. It was like 10 p.m. at night, and I was like, yeah, I've kind of got nothing to do. My girlfriend was still in Germany at the time. She was there for like a little longer than me, and I was kind of just sitting at home by myself thinking, I'm not sleepy yet. What should I do? And I was like, hold on a minute, let's just try this challenge, do a practice run, and then I can record the real thing like the next day. And then it took me like about 3.5 hours, but I got it done. I was like, oh, okay, that's nice, that worked out well. Sorry, my mic flung up again. I like to go to sleep with the P-Bird Math Mod 5 out of 10. Fair enough. Everyone has their Danzo background / falling asleep to series. I don't think I would have beaten Emerald without Knights of the Round. That's fair. I mean, it was a very tough fight. Like I think Emerald and Ruby were really nice, like high-level challenges. I think they were good. That's why I'm very curious to see how they implement them in the final game of the 7 trilogy, because obviously, like the weapons that you see in Rebirth so far, they're like these kind of different, I guess, like different versions of them, or like they're imagined differently. So I'm a bit curious to see that. What about the ones that we know? Like there's literally posters of Emerald and Ruby in some of the locations of Rebirth. So it's like they've acknowledged them. They've got to be there. Like there's got to be like the weapon fights. They're too big to miss out on. So I guess, yeah, they seem more like baby versions of like the later ones. But I think the game, like one of the criticisms I do have of Rebirth, I think again they lean too heavily on like the Chadley VR stuff, and so much of the fights were just like dumping you into VR over and over and over and over again. And so the weapons are going to be a nice opportunity for us to get to fight in different arenas. And so considering how huge Rebirth was and how big the map was, it's like, why did you not make us do more like cool, big, difficult fights in like these cool like arenas? Yes, they tried to do some like the secret intel and that kind of thing, but I think they kind of missed the trick a little bit with that. And so much of the hardest stuff was just basically locked behind Chadley and just constantly fighting in his arena. And it's just like, you can do better than that. But I think for the final game, I'd like to see that, like less, I'd love to see less VR and more like finding these weapons out in the world and fighting them out in the world. Like part of the magic of the original was maybe like playing without a guide and bumping into them, like seeing Emerald weapons swimming around and just being like, well, what's this guy? And then running into it and dying. So everything being under like a menu in the Chadley thing, I think it's such a waste of this like awesome world that they've created. So I really hope that they do it better for the final one. Like especially for Emerald and Ruby, they've got to. Like if they just put Ruby and Emerald in Chadley VR and just make it like the final one, I'd be disappointed. That's what I think. You think Carifian thinks they'll put the weapons into VR? Honestly, I think you're probably right, but I really hope they don't. Less Chadley. Definitely agree with that. Did you complete the Brutal and Legendary VR missions? No. I had so much of a marathon to even play the story and do all of the stuff I wanted to do in the story, including I did do the like the double summon fights and the Gilgamesh fight and all that kind of stuff. I have all of that complete, but like the hard mode, extra like legendary challenges, whatever, I was just like, no, like I've 103 hours at this point is definitely enough. I want to stop playing for now and just play other stuff. And once like the Rebirth playthrough is basically complete, up until that point, then it would have been a few months and I can jump back in and try out some of the harder fights. So we'll see. I have heard they're pretty brutal, and again, it might be one of those situations where yes, they're very hard, but not potentially hard because they're like well designed and still fun to do. They might be a bit hard for the sake of being hard. We will just have to see. But for now, I don't have an opinion on them. I will try to do them in the next like month or two. Oh yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Yeah, one of my favorite things about Super Boss is just coming up on them and having them kill me instantly. Yeah, I mean, the first time that happens, I respect it, man. I think that's cool. I'm just like, holy shit, like I did not see that happening. This means we have a cool new challenge to do. So I'm not worried by that at all. It's part of what makes them so memorable for me. Like the first time you run into Dark Valorfor, let's say, coming back to Besaid. Yeah, like you hate Valorfor, like Dark Valorfor for it, but I don't know, for me, like that's just part of what makes it iconic. I really think they will make the weapon fights big, huge spectacles, and it won't just be a team of 3 fighting. I think it'll be every single person working together like Advent Children. Yeah, maybe a bit like the Harbinger fight, I guess, at the end of Remake, possibly. Maybe. I kind of would prefer that to not be the case, but I can definitely see that happening. I'm just hoping they do something special with the weapons. Like, they deserve it, like Emerald, Ruby, and, well, Diamond too. Diamond and then Ultimate. Yeah, they deserve that. Ah, yes, well noticed, Creepin. Yes, this is live. Well, what you're watching is not live, but I'm doing live commentary over the top of it. Otherwise, there's no way I could have done this. Like, I've literally, as I say, I've probably spent... It's been 3 hours, 25 minutes. I've probably spent 3 hours and 15 of it just looking at the chat and just generally chatting. So I couldn't have done all of this and interacted with you guys as much if I tried to do it live. It would have taken like 6 hours. But yeah, I think given I've already put in 103 hours into Rebirth, I'm not sure I'm gonna... Like, I had such a great time with the game, and especially the challenges that I did with the like the double summons, and then like the whole Gilgamesh fight. Like, those were high level, like really cool challenges. And then you had the full might versions of the summons in VR. Like, in general, I feel like I got a nice, fairly rounded experience with Challenge 2, and now the prospect of like an extra 10, 20, 30 hours, plus any grinding I need to do. Let's just say some of them require very specific materia to be able to defeat that's like leveled up and I don't have it. Then it's just like I don't know if I have the stamina for that. So we'll see. I mean, in general, you guys know me. I try to complete every challenge that I come across in Final Fantasy, but Rebirth is a bit of a different beast. So we are on the final hit, by the way, for Penance. There it is. We did it. Woo! And so yeah, that is the random made-up Dansgo 8 Final Fantasy X Boss Rush Challenge. So if anyone thinks of any cool variations of this that might work and make it even more of a challenge, I'm happy to hear it. We will see. But for now, I've at least done this version of it, and we managed to do it without losing anybody. Aren't all challenges made up? That is true. But this one I've never seen done before. So this is really made up. This is super made up. Like, there's certain challenges like no spear grid and stuff that's very established, but this one's like very made up. No spear grid. No booze rush challenge plus jump rope. Yeah, of course. It wouldn't be Flatus if there wasn't a jump rope reference. But yeah, I decided to, I remember recording this, I was like, let's head back to here for like a nice chill vibe as we sign off. So yeah, from here, I'm going to start to say my goodbyes. Thank you all so much for joining me for this 200k special. I hope you guys had a good time. It was nice to share this challenge with you guys and spend so much time chatting to lots of familiar names. Thank you all so much for the support over the years. It's been amazing to be able to make it this far. As I say, I mean, on May the 4th, 2008, I started this all by myself. It's just me, no subscribers, no nobody. Had no idea where this was going to go, if anyone was going to watch, if we were going to be able to build a community and all that kind of stuff. And the fact that we've made it so far has been amazing. And so now the goal is to continue to try and maintain what we have, because what we've built together is very special, and try to sustain it for as long as we can. So thank you all so much for being a part of it. But it takes a community, you know. I helped obviously build it, but to some extent it needs to maintain itself and to run itself. And that comes from you guys continuing to not only support the content, but also support yourselves and to check in on each other and to hang out, have a good time, hang out in the 24/7 stream, hang out in the live streams on Tuesdays, whatever it might be. And so that's the only way that that whole aspect stays alive. I'm doing my part by making all of the content I can, giving you guys the platform to to hang out with each other and to maintain the community, but it really does take a village. So hopefully we will continue to keep this thing rolling, and I look forward to having many more milestones with you guys. So yeah, signing off. I will see you guys soon. I'll be back on Tuesday at 1:30 at the usual time. We will continue. We'll have a chill monster capturing session for Final Fantasy X, and so hopefully it should be a good time. So thank you all once again. Signing off now. Take care.